right, welcome back to the party, everybody. This is Morty, and I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Everybody hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you. And let's party. Big shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much for coming back to watch this, even though you missed the live party. Guys, that is the best part, so make sure you're here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it. So hit that subscribe, ring the bell, and you will never miss an Indian Jesus live party ever again. Also, head over to theindianjesus.com for your very own The Indian Jesus official merch. Only at theindianjesus.com. All right. We got a guest in the building. Welcome to the Front Porch Conservative. Very, very happy to have you. For those who don't know who you are, why don't you tell them who are you, what do you do, and where can they find you?
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brian Trippett. I am known as the Front Porch Conservative. My social media name is a combination of two different things. One is my general political philosophy, and two is an homage to my late uncle, who always said, if you want to be entertained, never watch TV or go to the movies. Just go sit on your front porch. Because if you see what's walking down the street or driving by in a car, you'll either laugh, cry, or both. As far as where you can find me on social media, you can find me on YouTube, you can find me on Rumble, you can find me on Twitter. YouTube and Rumble is the Front Porch Conservative. Twitter is the Front Porch C1. I am doing my dead level best to take my going little concern of a social media channel and grow it. So hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and help out the Indian Jesus. Give him a sub, give him a like. You know, and by all means, look at poor Morty. Look at poor Morty in the background. That poor dog is undernourished, for God's sake. Give a super chat to this fine young man so he can feed that dog.
That's right. Every single donation comes with a treat for Morty. We also got M169 in the building. Welcome to the party. So I wasn't actually going to start here, but as you mentioned it, that is very curious. The name, the Front Porch Conservative, coming from your uncle. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
My uncle worked all of his life. He was my mother's brother, and toward the end of his life, because of various health problems, he more or less became something of a shut-in. And if you know anything about people from my home state of West Virginia, we will never let anyone starve. If we have to take them food, we'll do it. And what would happen was, on the weekends, my mom worked at a local hospital, and we'd have breakfast together. I'd get a styrofoam tray full of food, take it over to my uncle, and we'd sit around, we'd shoot the breeze. And he would drop these little pearls of what I call country wisdom, which, even though you live in cities in West Virginia, let's just be honest, everybody from one part or another comes from the country. And he would always say to me, never turn on your TV or go to the movies if you wish to be entertained. He said, just go sit on your front porch. He said, because what you see walking down the street or driving by in a car will make you laugh, cry, or both. And you know what? The older I get, the more I believe him, because, you know, these days it's kind of like that old line from a Don Henley song. The more I know, the less I understand.
Oof. Yep.
Yeah. And I look around and go, oh, we are definitely not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy.
Nope.
No.
Yeah. And I think that is a real wisdom. You know, the fact that, I mean, if you think just a few years ago, like the notion of people watching was a thing. And I think that's completely just disappeared from our lexicon, from the zeitgeist. I don't think kids really know what people watching is, because there's always something, some kind of stimulation. There's always something going on. And I correct me if I'm wrong, but the notion of what your uncle was saying is that, you know, the world is plenty entertaining, exciting, whatever you want to call it, and it's up to you to look out and see that and notice it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, my uncle could find the most humor in the strangest little thing. I mean, and you're absolutely right. The generations that, you know, we find ourselves associated with now are so saturated with, like, iPhones, Androids, tablets, whatever you want to call it. And the idea of just sitting in quiet and watching people, I'm not saying they wouldn't know how to do it. It would just make them crazy because they got to be looking at the screen. They got to be looking at something. They got to be, stimulated by some piece of electronic whatever. And it would just drive them crazy. Just sit on a bench at the park and watch people. They wouldn't know how to do it. It'd just be absolutely crazy for them.
I remember my uncle was talking to his son, so my cousin, and just could not understand the notion that back in the day. And I mean, I guess I'm 34, so I'm a little young for this, but he's like, back in the day, you'd just make plans with people and you'd show up and just hope that they showed up too, and if they didn't, that's it. That's it. And just texting, oh, I'm 5 minutes away, I'm 10 minutes away. It's definitely a convenience, but it's not the way things always were. And if they were running a little late, then again, you'd be either people watching or like M169, the Sunday drives. Just take a drive, just go chill and see what is out there.
No, absolutely.
And it's not that you're going to find some amazing flashing thing that's going to be like, oh my God, I've never seen this. But it's the banality that the minutia that you miss out on while you're looking for all those things. So I definitely want to start with a dilly to your uncle.
Dilly
for that Southern wisdom. Yeah. Shout out to Bon Zig, the art of chillaxing. People don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
So what do you think? What do you think that has done to society? What do you think that lack of ability? How is that manifested in what we see?
I don't think we take the time to appreciate being still and just thinking. We've so got to have the next new thing, or make ourselves available to the next new thing, and be. It's like going to a perpetual 24-hour rave where, everybody's dancing. You got electronic music, you got the light show, you got the smoke and everything else. And nobody can just sit there and just calmly, just in the quiet, think, or contemplation.
Yeah.
There's something else that's lost these days. The ability to sit and think quietly to yourself. And, I'll also argue that, I think you and I touched on this when you were on my channel, is that we've lost the ability to just be able to communicate with other people.
Right.
We're losing a sense of community. Whereas back in the old days, I mean, one of the things I love about the neighborhood that I live in is most of the people who live here have lived on my street for going on 20, 30, 40 years. And every spring and every fall, they will do a block party. They'll block off both ends of the street. Everybody brings some form of food. We all get together at a certain spot. We set up tables. We set up everything else. And we all just hang out, eat food, drink adult beverages if somebody feels like doing it. And we just otherwise just talk to each other and say, hey, man, what's going on? Yeah, I see you driving in and out of your driveway, but I hardly ever get to talk to you, man. What's going on? And we all know each other. We hang out together. We will occasionally barbecue in each other's backyards. It's nice.
Yeah, and it's not only that was enough, but that was awesome. That was those were the good old days, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Shout out to Dylan C. Welcome to the party. We also got Zippy Lee. Welcome. Yeah, I mean M169 sounds like her neighborhood. I think it sounds like a lot of our neighborhoods, and that's the point, is that this isn't some pocket of America that was there, and it was a special type of life. That was American life, and now you might have to go to some pocket where maybe they don't have good internet or something in order to find that, because even people like us who want to who like that, who want that type of society, we're talking on the internet right now. We're sitting in front of screens and everything right now, and so it's changed life so dramatically that it's frustrating that there is simultaneously a desire to kind of move back to simpler times, while also looking forward and being forced to prepare whatever is coming down the pipe.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just like I said, just the simple say hello to your neighbor as they walk out their front door. that's almost lost anymore. It really is. And it's sad. I saw something the other day at a gas station, and it's a national chain, or at least semi-national. They're very big on the East Coast. And I was filling up my gas tank, and it's a modern gas station with electronic signage. Okay, fine. And it said, please remember to lock up your car while filling up with gas. And I thought to myself, now just how sad a state is this, that I'm going to be out of my car for 4 minutes, standing beside my car, pumping gas, and you're telling me I have to lock, you're recommending that I lock my car door. I'm like, this is sad. Absolutely sad. You know.
I completely agree. And, I mean, luckily in Jersey, we don't have that problem because you just roll up, they got full service. But, all over, I seen, real quick, let's say shout out to the Adventure Bros. Hafa Adai. I don't remember what that means, but welcome to the party. But yeah, I was just watching some TikTok where a girl pranked her mom by kind of noticing the same thing and pranked her mom, and it was a lighthearted thing, but saw her at the gas station, pulled up quietly, hopped in her car, and had her on a camera. Mom gets in the car and she's like, "Oh my god!" And it's like, it's kind of funny, but it kind of shows like a glaring vulnerability that we never would have had to think about in the past. And now it's like every single thing you have to be so on guard. There's a new like phone scam where they'll use use AI and stuff where they can spoof your voice and your number. And especially if you have kids out there, if you're a Gen X boomer up there, pay attention, because what they'll do is they'll call like your parent or your aunt or whoever, and they'll use technology that has your voice. So it'll be like me calling my dad saying, "Dad, I'm in trouble. I need money. Send it to me now." And they're good and they get people. There's still the terrible, Prince of Azkaban, whatever scams, but they are getting way better. And this idea of community, when you don't care about it, it crumbles from the top down.
Oh yeah, oh absolutely, it will. I mean, we get so busy in our lives trying to make ends meet. I do a. Excuse me, 1 second.
Sure. I mean, that's.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, okay.
No, I do a live stream on the weekends, and as with every live streamer in one form or another, you're doing some form of an intro to introduce your show and tell your people what it's about. Well, mine is, hey, you spent all week trying to make money, trying to keep your kids happy, keep your spouse happy, keep your significant other happy. You're trying to keep your boss happy. You're trying to keep your friends happy. You're trying to keep your in-laws and outlaws happy. Daggone it, you need one period of the day when you just need to unwind. And I stopped and thought about that after I got off my live stream one day. I thought, that is so true. And it doesn't, and being that busy does not afford anybody the opportunity to find out, hey, what's going on with my neighbor? What's going on with that person across the street? What's going on with one of my relatives? What's going on with my sister, my brother? What's going on with their kids? What's going on with my mom and dad?
Yeah.
We spend so much time chasing whatever supposedly is the American dream that we're just killing ourselves. And it's like, you argue it's top down. I argue it'll crumble from the bottom up.
Either way, it's all going to shit.
Yeah, I mean, what'll happen is the foundations will just start to crumble from neglect, and it starts falling apart.
Yeah,
you're seeing a lot of that. You're seeing a lot of that in cities across the country right now for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, and just tying up on that last thing with the the fake phone call. This is exactly what you should do. Have a code word with your family, so with your bank as well, because they can spoof your bank and they'll say they're from the FBI, whoever it is. If somebody calls you and said, "I need money," number one is hang up and call the person back, whether it's your parent or the bank. Because then they'll be like, "What are you talking about? We didn't call it." Or if it's something where they're like, "We have your son here, and we're gonna," then what's the code word? No code, no money. Well said. Shout out to Dietrich. Welcome to the party. But yeah, man, I think either way, we talk so much about these values that it almost seems cliche. family, community, tradition, ritual, all this kind of stuff. It almost seems cliche, but cliches are cliches for a reason, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, tradition is one of those things, people, you say the word tradition to the wrong generation now, they're like, oh my God. Say it to another generation, and it's like, yeah, there's reasons why you do things the way you do them. You establish certain patterns so that everyone knows what to expect. For example, the State of the Union address, which we'll get into at some point. Yeah, I don't ever want to hear another person from the left or a Democrat ever say to me again, so and so is destroying the political norms of this nation. After what I watched the other night, I don't ever want to hear anybody say that to me again. Never.
Well, let's get into it, but real quick, let's say hello to Leah Cole. Welcome to the party. So very glad to see ya.
And friends, please hit the like button. Please hit the share button. Please help this good man out. He's trying to grow this little conservative channel. Let's help him do it, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So Leah wants to know how hungover you were after last night. Solid question.
Well, I have to confess to something. And most of my viewers will not be, they'll see this live stream, but they're not watching it right now. I pulled an old Dean Martin trick. Now, let me explain what's going on. Dean Martin was one of the legendary members of the Rat Pack. Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., all those cats. And as part of Dean's act, he'd walk out on stage and he would usually have a glass about like this, filled full of what looked like scotch, and he'd be smoking a cigarette. Well, I don't smoke cigarettes, but I love the glassware. So I decided to have some fun because knowing that President Soft Serve, I mean Biden, and if you're a follower of the Indian Jesus' channel and you're wondering what I mean by soft serve, that is my nickname for Joe Biden. And the reason I call him soft serve, it refers more to the condition of, no, it refers more to the condition of his brains than it does how he likes his ice cream.
They say ice cream is good for dementia patients, right?
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, yeah, come on, man, is right. So anyway, I decided to play a drinking game.
Ooh.
And that is every time Soft Serve would say something that I knew he would like if you saw the bingo cards that were out on the internet, they were great, right? So I decided, okay, we'll do a shot for every time he uses things like, come on, man, or here's the deal, or my predecessor, or whatever.
That's a good one.
However, realizing, of course, that I was the designated driver for this live stream of mine last night, I was like, now look, I can't be getting loaded if I take as many shots.
Yep.
So I thought, oh, I know how I'll do this. I'll pull an old Dean Martin. Now, the reason that I reference Dean Martin is more often than not, that Scotch glass was full of apple juice. So
he faked it. How dare you? How dare you? See, I had a similar type of experience. So, you guys know I've got my mug here. And if the people who make what I'm drinking ever decide to pay me, then you'll know what's in the mug. But you'll also see me with this guy. Yeah. And what had happened was there was a show, and I was drinking, and it's nothing crazy, it's a casual type of drink, but it is an alcoholic drinking. And we were having a little bit of fun. We ran a little bit long, and I was good, but I could feel myself like I was like, oh boy, you get to that place where you're like, okay, now I gotta focus just to do the normal stuff. It was a lot less fun than it sounds. So then I was like, all right, I need to start cutting it, because it's almost like a nervous tick. If you anybody who notices, whenever I have a moment of like I just went on like a rant or something, I always use the mug as kind of like it's just like a tick. And I like having a little bit, a little bit of alcohol. So I wouldn't just switch to water. But I even it out, and that way, that's my what is it, Dean Martin?
Dean Martin, yeah.
Dean Martin, that's my version. Shout out to Stinky Cola's lowest president soft serve. There you
Well,
go.
now, Stinky, if you think that nickname is funny, I've got some others.
Oh, please let us know.
Oh, I'll be glad to. For example, I refer to oh, darling, you have no idea how devious I can be. But anyway, the Vice President Harris, I refer to as Vice President Idaho, because we all know how much she loves her potatoes. Big potatoes, little potatoes, skinny potatoes, fat potatoes. She
Any
will
way
get on
she
her.
can get 'em.
She will get on her hands and knees for a good potato. Daggone it.
Mashed, I don't know, maybe,
Now,
but
mashed not so much, but I
you
mean, if
never
it's
know. You never
if
know.
it's a good, firm, solid tater, she's all about it now, let me tell you. So you got that going on. I finally settled on a nickname for District Attorney Fonnie Willis and lead prosecutor Nathan Wade. I refer to them as Drama Mama and Lover Boy.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I stole one of Rush Limbaugh's old names for Mitch McConnell as the Turtle. I still haven't figured out what to call some people in Congress. Of course, I do have a nickname for Lauren Boebert, and that is my future ex-wife. But
There you go. Shout out to Lauren Boebert.
Hey, sometimes you gotta just shoot your shot. You know,
there you go.
You really gotta. You know,
she's definitely got to be the most attractive Congresswoman, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, AOC's close, but not even really. And then when you bring the personalities into it,
yeah. See, that's just it. If AOC never opened her mouth, I'd say she and Lauren Boebert are about like that as far as like, hotness. But then AOC opens her mouth and I'm like, oh God, you're so damn stupid.
Yeah. It's too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Like I said, you might say Miss Idaho's career began from seeking out a different kind of potato head. There you go. Oh, yeah. Okay. So Zippy wants to know, what do we call Nancy Pelosi?
The old drunk.
The old drunk. Classic, tried and true.
Yeah.
He said she does have her own golden knee pads. I heard she released them after the Trump sneaker.
Oh,
so that's almost.
I love your audience.
So do I. It's almost as bad as the Belle Delphine bathwater. Who's Anna Paulina Luna?
Congresswoman Republican out of Florida. She's down there in that Miami area, if I remember correctly. But yeah, another beautiful young lady. Anna Paulina. I could be wrong on the district, but definitely I know she's Republican from Florida. Yeah, there she is.
Let's see what we got. All right, not bad.
I'll tell you another one that's kind of hot.
I always do the smallest one. Not bad. I still got to go with Boebert after that.
Yeah,
but definitely not bad at all. Dylan said, well, for Nancy Pelosi, we can go with the living wax figure. I can't. I will never be able to get Tim Pool's impression of her out of my head, because he does like the he tries to act as if like her dentures are falling. Listen here, Democrats. It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, I mean, or she could be named the Queen of the Damned, which really wouldn't be too far off if you stop and think about it.
Queen of the Dead.
Yeah, okay, so, you got that too.
So speaking of all these Democrats in the State of the Union, what did you think about the speech? I did get a chance to listen to. Well, I listened to the Timcast version where they were watching it. I'd listened to the podcast version of that in the car. So technically, I didn't watch it, but I listened to the whole thing. What in general? What were your thoughts?
Okay. I have watched a lot of State of the Union addresses. Not that I've watched every one of them since I turned 18 years old or whatever, but I've seen quite a few of them. I don't know if in my lifetime I've ever seen a speech so angry, divisive, just absolutely full of hate. I mean, Joe Biden tries to pass himself off as, this congenial, real guy,
he's the old grandpa.
Joe from Scranton, Scranton Joe. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you happen to be watching this live stream, let me tell you something. Joe Biden is a mean-spirited, petty little son of a bitch. He always has been. He thinks he's smarter than what he is, and the worst part is he's got the arrogance to match his stupidity. Now, being stupid for a politician is one thing. Being stupid and arrogant is dangerous.
Indeed.
But being stupid, arrogant, dangerous, and having power is really bad.
It doesn't get much worse. It doesn't get much worse than that.
No.
Yeah, and I honestly didn't think it was super, and maybe this speaks to the kind of environment that he's already created. But I didn't feel like it was that divisive per se. I thought it was rather boring and run of the mill. I do think it was very like it definitely attacked election deniers and my predecessor. Like it definitely went after the whole thing about when they say our democracy, they don't mean our democracy, they mean their democracy. It is our to them. We're just not part of it.
Well, here's why I say divisive. I mean, you're right in terms of the content. I mean, normally, the State of the Union address fulfills any number of functions for the President of the United States. One of them is I want to lay out my policy agenda, for the coming year, the things I'd like to see the Congress work on. Mm-hmm. Well, Joe Biden, in one form or another, has been giving this same speech ever since he got in. I mean, the domestic policy items aren't that innovative. They aren't that new. They aren't that whatever. Now, the good news is, by hook or crook or by pure luck, most of what he's wanted to do hasn't been done yet, thank God. Yeah, absolutely. Now the divisive part is I saw him do something last night. The last time I saw this done was when Barack Obama did it. And for those of you who are watching and you're wondering what I'm referring to, there was a State of the Union address where Barack Obama got up and chastised the Supreme Court of the United States while they're sitting there for the State of the Union over the Citizens United case, which had to do with campaign finance laws and campaign finance money. Biden took it one step further last night and flat out threatened them. The Supreme Court's sitting right there, and Biden's like, you don't know the power of women, but come this fall, you'll understand it. And I'm like, oh my God. That's why I said I don't ever want to hear Joe Biden or any Democrat ever again say to me, oh, he's just, Trump or MAGA Republicans, they're destroying the political norms and customs and traditions. No. You did more to shred that the other night, big boy, than Trump could ever do on his best day.
When we do that, obviously you're familiar with the term projection. That is indeed projection. And over here, we call out projection with a dilly projection.
Dilly.
So you mentioned, the same thing over and over and over. I did not search this. I was just setting up the stream, and it just happened to pop up when I was, just want to have something on on my phone, setting everything up, and this is what pops up right after I was talking to our resident liberal about what he thought, and we'll get into that. But just check this out. Joe Biden, so it says Biden's been giving the same speech for years.
Yeah.
So we got 2023.
We imported projects and exported jobs. Now, thanks to what you've all done, we're exporting American products and creating American jobs.
And 2024.
Importing foreign products and exporting American jobs. We're exporting American products and creating American jobs. Build the economy from the bottom up and the middle out, not from the top down. To build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out, not from the top down. Building an economy from the middle out and the bottom up, not the top down. We're the only nation on earth who's always turned every crisis we faced into an opportunity. We're the only country that has emerged from every crisis we've ever entered stronger than we got into it.
And back to 22.
Need control our lives. Today, COVID no longer controls our lives. The pandemic.
If you're missing what's going on here, is he's saying the same thing year after year after year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's nothing necessarily innovative or new or fresh or different. I mean, Bill Clinton, after the 1994 election, at least had the good sense to realize, dude, if I don't change the way I'm doing things, I'm not going to be a second-term president. And he did. I don't think Biden has that capacity. Or maybe it's better to say the people around him won't let him have that capacity.
It's interesting that you say that, because like I said, we have most of the Discord community. Shout out to Discord. It is free to join the Discord server. but we have it's mostly people think like us. Although we implore everybody to join, and the most outspoken liberal guy was talking about how we should all check out the State of the Union speech. And so after listening to it, and again, just very run of the mill, and exactly what we're seeing here, it's just the same, same thing that we've seen. Yeah, exactly. I'm 69, cut and paste speeches. I asked him, I said, I'm curious, what, if anything, you found poignant for average Americans in the State of the Union? And I just told him I'm listening to it, and I'll be discussing it with my esteemed guest tonight. But I'm not convinced that not watching that watching the speech changes everything or anything for anybody. With the exact point, and this was before I came across this, and he gave me this 13-point thing about how number one, passing bipartisan laws, including the infrastructure bill. Number two, pointing out best in the world inflation rate. We're down as well as the best economic jobs recovered from COVID. Highlighting and going on and on. And like, so basically nothing. That's the answer to the question. Because like us, he's a politics nerd. He just happens to be on the other side. But if Trump gave a speech that was, only about, taxes and even if it, I struggle to make the comparison of how bad it would be. But if that's all he talked about, and then you came to me and asked what the average American cared about in that speech, and I said that, the only assumption that I have is that you don't understand what the average American thinks about.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
Joe Biden has been, like many politicians in Washington, D.C., has been so insulated for all these years, he doesn't have any idea anymore. When's the last time you thought about Joe Biden getting out of his car to pump gas? Yeah, he's got that green Corvette. I'm sure he's very proud of it. But when's the last time he went out and pumped gas somewhere? When's the last time he went? Yeah, when's the last time he went to a grocery store? When's the last? I mean, name a common activity that you and I or anyone else in your audience does. And imagine Joe Biden doing that. Won't happen. And because of that, he doesn't think about it. I mean, I always find it fascinating that there's a certain percentage of political liberals that will dream up ideas about how the world ought to work and have not an idea in the world about the practical reality of it. For example, electric cars. Now, no. Here's my thought. If someone wishes to purchase an electric vehicle, fine, not a problem. That is your choice, your money. You may find good, practical, solid reasons for you to do that. However, the argument that says that we're going to make everybody in America do this, with, first of all, not having the infrastructure in place to make that happen as far as the charging stations, and then the other consideration is, where are you going to get the electricity? Well, you still got to use oil and gas and coal to burn the electricity to make the cars run.
Yep. And then,
how are you gonna do that?
And it's even at a more personal consumer level, the fact that these cars don't work in the cold.
No.
They just saw that the Cybertruck. I love Elon, but they just saw that the Cybertruck will rust with not even if it's with just like the morning dew. I might be exaggerating a little bit there, but it's a car that rusts, and it's like they're not there yet. We're not there yet. Yeah, that's Jersey. Shout out to Jersey, and I believe it's Oregon. That's full service. You are not allowed to pump your own gas. So all summer, while you guys are out in the cold and you gotta get out of your car and you gotta do the thing. I've pumped gas maybe 3 times in my life, but in the winter, just fill it up with regular, bitch. Like a king.
And before we go any further, I have to say hello to one of your viewers, Virgil Kane. And yes, I know exactly where you came, or at least I think I know where you came up with that name, or more to the point, I know the song that you got it from. So
interesting. Well, a shout out to Virgil Kane all the way over from Manchester, England. Welcome.
Okay.
What do you mean it sucks for gas? What sucks about it? Number 1, it's the same gas. Number 2, I ain't got to do shit. Number 3, I ain't got to pay for extra shit. Conversation over.
Yeah. And the other thing that kind of gets me about gasoline, and this was suggested a long time ago, why do we have medium grade gasoline? I have no idea. No one buys it.
Well, people do buy it, and it's for those people. The people
Okay, well,
who,
but here's my point. If you want to decrease gas prices, do not mandate that there must be a medium grade of gasoline. Can you imagine how much supply that puts back into the system? Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
We could
I mean,
drop
you
the
definitely
price
make a good point. Like, there's only the dumbest people who, and I say this as somebody who drove a tuned-up 4-door Honda Civic in high school and put medium grade gas into that because I thought it was so cool. But there's enough people out there that apparently they still do it. Shout out to Guam Tech. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Very, very, very good to see you. Said it's his name. I don't know. I don't know if I believe you. I don't know if I believe you. Is that your real name? Let's see. How can we verify? I'm gonna put that on the back burner and see if we can dox you. See that.
Ask him if either Joan Baez or the band gave him his name.
All right, there you go, Virgil. See, I said the Model T could run on 50 octane fuel. I guess there's,
Wow.
yeah, that's the actually Central Jersey has some of the cheapest gas in all of the nation. I just saw $2.99 twice this month.
That's real good.
So you can suck my Jersey dick. Shout out to John. Welcome to the party. So premium is different. Premium is I mean, again, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but we're talking about the one that's not regular, that's in between regular and premium. Why? Not necessary.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
but you were mentioning how this idea of Biden being out of touch and not being able to know what it is to buy gas or this or that or whatever. And that is there's a culture of being proud, not being proud, but what I'm trying to say is that it's the same thing that I see in the point that you just made about Biden not knowing that stuff. There was a clip from Bill Maher's podcast where he was talking to the guy who plays Jack Reacher, also a guy from Blue Mountain State, if you know what's good with that. And he was just trying to talk about the housing market and how houses are so much more expensive. And Bill Maher and his smarmy like, no, well, actually, we have government numbers, okay? And you can believe whatever you want. That's religion. But houses aren't cheap right now, okay? And I was just like, bro, no, they're not. Told you. And I believe you know a decent amount about the housing market, correct?
Oh yeah. So right now the housing market's being hurt by a number of different things. One of them is higher interest rates, and that's not gonna come. It's coming down slowly, but not that much. And the problem with it is if you're someone who's buying a house, either for the first time or you're thinking about upgrading from where you are, you've got two whammies on either side of you. One's the interest rates that are higher than what they were 3 or 4 years ago. So you got that. And then you've got the affordability issue. You can't put the cash away because the inflation for basic goods, gasoline, food, utilities, etc., is eating your budget alive so badly right now. You can't put anything away. Right now, and I keep seeing this all the time, is that, credit card default rates are starting to get higher and higher and higher. Why? Because everybody is making their ends stretch out so thin, they're using the credit card to supplement what they can't do in cash. And now it's reaching the point where they can't make the payments. And it's not just credit cards either. It's automobile defaults are starting to creep up at the same time.
And so this is when you lapse in your payment and now you're behind and you get so much so that your car gets repoed.
Yeah. It's gonna.
And that was always a thing. But we're just seeing more and more and more. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like it used to be people who either were trying to take advantage of something and didn't get away with it, or people who genuinely were victimized by whoever's giving them the loan or whoever's selling them the car or something, and then they're in a situation. It's not, but now it seems like people, doing all the right things and just not being able to keep up.
Right. And a lot of that is caused by governmental policy. I mean, Reagan's old joke about, the scariest words in the English language are, "Hi, I'm from the government. I'm here to help you." That still rings true to this day. I mean,
Yeah.
what cracks me up is, and I've always found this to be perversely fascinating. The government will do something. It causes an unintended consequence. People complain about the unintended consequence, and quite appropriately, might I add. Government then decides to come along and create a program to solve the unintended consequence, as opposed to going back to the original issue
Right.
and undoing what they did that caused the problem in the first place. And in doing so, some people could cynically say, well, they're creating government dependency, and they'd be absolutely right. Because if you have to depend upon the government to solve the problem, you yourself cannot exercise your God-given freedom to decide what you want to do. And there is the issue. And that's why I think the 24 election is fascinating on so many levels. It really is, because you've got a clear line of delineation between these two men. Now, not to say they're perfect. I mean, believe me, I'm supporting Trump, but not with any, not blindly. This guy's got major faults, but you have a clear line of delineation between the practical effects of the policies between these two men. You've got the purest ideological choice you may have had since Reagan Carter in 1980.
And yeah, I mean, I agree. As somebody who maybe has not been, let's just say, not as I haven't paid attention to politics as closely for as long as you have. Why do you think that's the case? That it's such a clear choice?
Okay. It's not just normally a presidential election is a choice between an incumbent and a challenger. The incumbent has a record. You can look at their 4 years and say, okay, this person's done well. I'm better off under what they've done. I'll vote for this guy. Or you have a challenger who's never been president, and you can say, all right, I'm not doing so good under the incumbent. Let's give this guy a shot because I like what he's talking about. But this election is profoundly different in that you have two incumbent presidents, or maybe it's better to say the incumbent Joe Biden and the quasi-incumbent in Donald Trump. And America hasn't had an election like this since the 19th century, when Grover Cleveland ran the third time, much like Donald Trump. And it's a historically fascinating parallel, because similar thing happened then. Grover Cleveland got in his first term, came in, cleaned up the patronage system, did a lot of really good things, and got thrown out after 4 years. Well, his political enemies screwed up the nation so badly in the 4 years that Grover Cleveland was out, that when Grover Cleveland was asked, hey, would you run again? He said, yeah, I'll do it. And resounding victory. And I'm starting to wonder if the same thing might not be about to happen here. I mean, I could be wrong. It's a long way to November, but the historical parallel is not too far off base.
Frightening.
Yeah.
Well, Gontek has a question here. So, speaking of housing, what does Front Porch Conservative think about Biden's comments on tax credits for home buyers? He mentioned it at the State of the Union last night. It was about the only thing that piqued my interest the whole speech.
I like the idea, but the idea of $400 a month over 2 years as a tax credit.
Oh, that thing. Okay, yeah. So I heard that part, and I honestly, biasly, I was like, wait, you're trying to give everybody money? Nah, wait, I'm not. And I kind of, and I was driving, and it just went back. Like, if I was watching it, I think I would have went back. Can you explain what he said with that?
As I understand it, basically what he's wanting to do to help with the cost of home ownership or help with purchase, to give a tax credit of $400 per month to a home buyer and that tax credit would go for a period of 48 months. So basically, you're talking about $9,600 over 2 years.
Mhm.
Now, on its face, I don't have a problem with it. I do have some practical questions. Number one, is this for first-time home buyers or is this for anybody? Number one. Number two, aren't we sort of like closing the barn door after the horses got out? Translation, this goes back to what I said a moment ago. We are creating issues that are costing people more money and making it harder for them to save, and you're coming along with a government program to try and fix the problem. Why don't you go back to the original thing that caused people not to have as much spending money, and thereby they wouldn't need the government program?
Well, if they didn't need the government program, then what would we, the government, do? You know,
Exactly.
it's just the standard. I want to say left wing, but it really is just establishment, deep state, a government to create a problem, arguably or sometimes a false problem, create a problem, offer the solution, be the only ones that have the solution, and then fuck up the solution. It's like, what are you even there for? Exactly, Ian. 2008 all over again. And I mean, you know, it's insane. Shout out to Burner Popcorn account. Welcome to the party. Oh, damn. Well, nobody go watch that. You can catch the replay.
Wait. You chose Candace Owens over us. What night? I think, oh my God. All right.
I'm just kidding. Welcome to the party. Yeah, and where that was my question. Where is that money coming from?
Exactly.
That's always my question.
When you got a government that's $34 trillion in debt, and you've now reached the point that systematically you're adding $1 trillion to that every 2 months, which we are at that point. I mean, that the government admits that now. It's like, okay, guys, we may not like it, but we got to do something that is pretty drastic here because we can't keep doing this. This is nuts. This is absolutely insane. So
what do you think could be done on a small level that like is it maybe doesn't fix the whole housing crisis, but what would be something that could turn us around and move us in the right direction? Because I mean, I have no idea about that stuff.
Well, I'm going to propose something fairly radical. Whatever the government was spending as far as year-over-year appropriation, go back to 2019 levels before COVID. Because, you know, as much as I love Donald Trump, hey, that dude tacked on about $6 to $9 trillion of debt in his 4 years. So, no, he's not off the hook. He's not off the hook as far as I'm concerned for that. But I want to go back to spending levels of government. The other thing is I'm still old-fashioned enough. Why do we need a Department of Education?
We definitely don't.
What? Yeah. What do we need why do we need the FBI? Let's just get really radical here.
Yeah, it sounded like Vivek. Get rid of them all.
Well, no, I agree. Look, how many sins could you and I sit here and list off that the FBI has committed over the years, going all the way back to the days of J. Edgar Hoover when the old man ran the department?
It's day one.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the wiretaps on Martin Luther King Jr. during the height of the Civil Rights Movement, Waco, Ruby Ridge, Leon Gonzalez. I mean, my God.
Leon Gonzalez. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean, let's just go all the way. I mean, you all want to go back. I mean, everybody wants to go back in time. Why do we need a federal police department? Let the states and the localities handle this stuff. Yes,
I mean, I'm all for a military, but a federal police, I mean, seems like extra. And shout out to Vivek. Yeah, I think, you know, it's actually surprising because I think even back in 2020, the kind of stuff that Vivek was saying about getting rid of the 3-letter agencies and stuff like that, I think that would have been considered, and I mean, to some extent it was, but I'm saying way back then it would have been way more conspiratorial. And the fact that it was even a message that people were willing to listen to, I think is you know, a little bit of a white pill. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon before the mainstream message is we got to get rid of or any part of the government. But the fact is that there are people who are starting to open up to the idea that in general, less government might be a good a good rule of thumb across the board.
You know, if you really want to open the eyes of the American people to why they don't need nearly as much government as they've got, I say let there be a government shutdown. Now, here's why I say that. When people realize that, okay, I mean, because it always cracks me up. Democrats throw up in the face of Republicans in Washington, well, you're going to shut down the government. If you do that, you'll be held responsible for it. To which, you know, I almost wish there were moments I were in Congress, because I'd love to look at Chuck Schumer and go, okay,
do it.
Yeah.
You won't.
Yeah, because here's the dirty little secret about a government shutdown. Okay, first of all essential services of the government will still be maintained during a shutdown. For example, Social Security checks will still go out. Okay, Medicaid payments will still be made. The military will still be operational. We will continue to do all the essential services of government. Now, certain museums won't be open, and maybe certain national parks
and stuff,
you know, or monuments to visit. I mean, and the worst part about it is when they do come back off the shutdown, by law, they're paid retroactive all the days they were out.
I did not know that.
Oh, yeah.
I did. Bruh.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, yeah. They will pay. I mean, I had a friend of mine used to work for the Department of Labor. And she's about as conservative as it gets, right? I mean, the running joke was she's about 2 clicks to the right of Rush Limbaugh, okay? And she would say, I don't know why we're even worrying about a government shutdown. I'm going to get paid no matter what. The only question is when. They'll either pay me.
That is wrong.
Yeah, they'll either pay me by not shutting down the government, and I'll get my salary every 2 weeks, or when I come back, they'll pay me for however many weeks I was out. I will always get paid no matter what.
And of course, we know that these people are living paycheck to paycheck. It's not like they have savings that they could live on in between pay periods. So we know that they're really hurt. We're putting the squeeze on them.
What are the 4 richest counties in America per capita? They're all the ones in Virginia that surround the District of Columbia. Why? Because it's all the government workers. Yeah, they're living in Fairfax County, St. George County, etc. And yeah, per capita, 4 richest counties in America are all within shouting distance of Washington, D.C.
Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I need to get like a layover of the Ron Swanson thing, because it's just like it's so perfect. What a perfect character. And it's I don't even think they would. Do you think they would allow? Let's make that a poll. Do you think they would allow a Ron Swanson to be on a network sitcom in 2024?
Okay, that's a good question.
Be a 2024 Ron Swanson on network TV? I don't think there could be. I don't think there could be. I think that he's just like, and I mean, I didn't know it at the time. You guys have all heard my story, whether, you've been here for a while, you saw my walk away thing. You guys know that I was, not really paying attention. I was kind of a default liberal. I voted for Hillary. I didn't know any better. And came all the way back to realize what I didn't know. But back then, back then I didn't know what I was watching. It definitely spoke to me. And like I said, when I was a kid, I was very anti-establishment, anti-authority in general. But I didn't know. And now looking back, I don't think so. I don't know. What do you think? Would they have?
Oh no, they would never do it. For the same reason that Ricky Gervais is not hosting the Golden Globes anymore. Have you ever seen Ricky Gervais's last appearance at the Golden Globes?
Yeah,
the opening
he was
monologue.
Like, I don't fucking care.
Yeah, he's like, last time, I don't care. And I mean, he roasted everybody. And here's the funny part about it. He told them up front before he ever lit into them. They're just jokes. We're going to have some fun at your expense. And the look on the faces of these people was just exactly. It was priceless. It was Tom Hanks is sitting there like, what? Are you kidding me? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, he was
I mean,
mad. I remember that. I remember that. He was mad. And
yeah,
why? Why? Why are you so mad? You live an amazingly perfect life. You are loved by everybody. You may or may not allegedly be flying around fucking little kids. And you're mad about a joke.
well, and that's what I mean, to me, is the supreme irony in the life of, I mean, for example, you and I are both familiar with the work of Chrissy Mayer or any of
Shout
her
out to Chrissy
compatriots,
May.
or any of her compatriots, Gino Biscani, Anthony Cumia, anybody on Compound Media, okay, or anybody in that circle, okay. The irony of their situation is they're controversial for simply telling a joke. A joke that they are not trying to maliciously hurt anyone's feelings. They're just doing what comedians have done for decades. They're simply taking a shot at somebody and
Bring light. Yes.
making an observation about the state of the world, and they're trying to use humor to do it. And now it's reached the point, they're getting canceled. They're not getting gigs. Yeah, I mean, I saw Gino Biscotti 2 years ago. Now it would be 2 years in October, down in Orlando. I was down there for a couple or three different reasons. And he and Cumia and Chrissy and Lila Hart were doing Comedians of the Compound at the Improv Club. And I had never seen Gino do stand-up. Okay. Now I'd seen him on Compound Media or whatever, but cool. I'd never seen him do stand-up. I sat there mesmerized by that man. I'm not kidding. And now I don't know. I'll confess up front. I don't see a lot of stand-up comedy. Okay.
All right. Pretty big
I
fan
mean,
of him.
I might watch it on TV, but it's not like I get the opportunity to go to a club every regular little bit. So for me, this was something of a treat. I was mesmerized. That man to me was a combination of Robin Williams' mad, frenetic pace and the straight out of the back of the head sort of Robin Williams, Richard Pryor. Gino, and I'm sitting here literally as he's getting to the end of his gig, I'm sitting here going, why does this man not have a show on Comedy Central or a special or on Netflix or something? This man is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant as a stand-up comic. Because there was nobody in the room that's like looking at their watch or looking at their phone or anything else. Everybody has got their eyes peeled on that stage. Yeah, dialed in. And I'm like, yeah, and it's just, I mean, I think I saw somebody in your chat say Mel Brooks movies cannot be made today. I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
It would never happen.
Yep. And Guanzak's saying here that they go after comedians because they know that the Jester is the only one who can criticize the king and make people love it. And that's just that criticism. It's so necessary.
Absolutely.
Mitch and Mark talking about you can never beat George Carlin, Sam Kinison, old school stand up, and I mean there's definitely others, but there's the. It's not just because they were funny. It's not just because they made you laugh. It's the fact that they were saying things that cut through all the other bullshit that we knew, yet we were still buying into, and he was able to cut through that. Yeah. And I just think they're few and far between. Shout out to Tim Dillon. He's definitely one of them. And I definitely think that's a core part of our being able to, I guess, just criticize our leaders, making sure that we have that freedom of speech to say, hey, I don't like this, so we can change it and make it better, not to hurt people's feelings, but to change it and make it better. That's really what it's for.
Yeah, it's funny because Gino makes an observation every now and then. He said, when I was learning how to do stand-up comedy, I was trying to learn how to be funny. He said, comedians today are trying to get laughs. He said, and there's a profound difference of those two things. And the idea that he's getting at is you've got to be willing to take the risk of being funny. You could be funny and not get a laugh. You could be funny and the joke not land.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're going for laughs, you're thinking, oh my gosh, can I say this thing? Or is this phrase going to offend somebody? Or is this what? No, Gino's like, just go out and be funny. Go out and practice to try to be funny. then
That's
the rest
the way
of it
to
works
do it.
itself out. Yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go. Leslie McDowell here said, interested to know what Front Porch Conservative thinks of infinite banking and Trump's campaign to end it failing because the deep state stopped him. Is he familiar?
Infinite banking. I am not. Leslie, I am not familiar with that term, and I apologize. I really do.
We
Sorry.
tried. So M169 said the irony is I see Gen Z and younger millennials cracking up at Blazing Saddles and all that all the time. Yeah. Oh, they are.
There's a funny dichotomy that's happening generationally right now. Gen Z is more conservative than the millennials.
Yep.
It's the most.
Well,
I never really dove into this, but I'm hearing it more and more, and I'm like, okay, this gives me some hope here. Maybe I can go to the nursing home and survive.
So I think if it makes sense, because if you think about how millennials are, like I'm a millennial, and
Right.
I put a game over in the chat if you don't know what I mean. If you know how millennials be, then it makes sense. The next generation, like millennials, are cringe as fuck to Zoomers, and I don't blame them. And so, any way that they can rebel against us, the old people, they're gonna do. And so, some of it is just that. Some of it is just that, like, oh, you're old, and you're old being, 30, and we don't want to be like you, but because of the fact that things went so haywire over the last 10 years, that I mean, whether it's kiddies or Zoomers, both of them are like, what is going on? And it's just got so crazy that I think people are ready to return back to a center. That doesn't mean that everybody thinks the same thing. That doesn't mean that everybody lives the same way. And certainly the Zoomers are the ones that have the highest rates of transgender, non-binary, like, so it's not that they're more conservative, but the number one, the ones that are fucking gung-ho. Like millennials, there's not a lot of us that were political in high school. That wasn't really a thing. There was a few kids who were into it, and you might know some stuff. I wasn't into it, so I don't know who was saying what, but it definitely wasn't like a popular thing to be into politics. But by the time the Zoomers were in middle school, that's when Trump is coming down the escalator. That's when, like, that's all there is. And so I think there's number one, a rebellion against the old people, being the millennials, and number two, an acknowledgement that some of these bitches be crazy. It really is.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, I'm not innocent. In 2016, I was one of those people who didn't know any better and just went with what I thought I was supposed to go with. Because for the longest time, you could trust the institutions to do that. And it was just at that time where you had to realize, oh, this is changing. Where I think Zoomers are coming up. There was never a time when Zoomers were even though shout out to the Naked Gordons over on Instagram. Even though Trump was around when they were young, there was still a big pushback against Trump in general. So there was always a distrust of the establishment, of the authority, and I think that really is a benefit for the Zoomers. And I don't know if it's going to be Gen Z or if it's going to be Gen Alpha, but they're going to be based as fuck when they're 30. Yeah. I don't know if it's the Zoomers or it's Gen Alpha, but 30-year-old Zoomer or 30-year-old Gen Alpha is going to be based as fuck.
There is, I've been saying it, at least in the political context, we are headed for a fascinating end of this political season. And what I'm getting at is this. We are headed for a generational change in our politics. I will also argue that we are headed for an ideological change in our politics. And here's what I'm getting at. Regardless of who wins in this election, the generation of Joe Biden, Donald Trump, Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell, etc., they're done. They're absolutely done. They know this is it, no matter who wins. What's coming up behind them is a fascinating contrast. On the one side, you have AOC Rashida Tlaib,
Squad.
younger, more aggressive, strident in their progressivism, if I may use that term. On the other side, you have Vivek Ramaswamy, J.D. Vance, Josh Hawley, a younger, more populist, more conservative, and that generational clash is going to define American politics for the next probably 40 years. Because
Yeah.
and it's going to be fascinating to watch. Because to go to the statement you made about the institutions, we're Democrat, Republican, we've all trusted the institutions. The thing we didn't realize was that the institutions were being corrupted. Doesn't matter if it's law enforcement, the Justice Department, the military, education, etc., and so on. And now, to liken the analogy, to go back to the very beginning of a house. Well, if you don't take care of the foundations, the rest of it doesn't matter. The thing will crumble under its own weight. And, that's why I think we need to have some wholehearted discussions about, okay, it's not a matter of going in and reforming the institutions. My question is, do you even need them in the first place? Because if you let them stay, they will, even if you reform them in the short term, sooner or later, they will metastasize back to what they were. But if you eliminate them altogether, you don't have that problem.
It might work out. Shout out to the Naked Gordon said, I have base Gen Alpha kiddos. There we go. That's what we need. There's a return to normalcy. And like Gontek was saying, the problem with millennials was that they tried so hard to be counterculture that the countercultural became normal culture. No wonder later generations are moving back to more traditional lives, because now that's counterculture.
Yeah, I find it so. I've got any number of different interests, and one of them is I love old school journalists. And one of my favorites is the legendary Ben Bradlee, who was the editor of the Washington Post. And Bradley's known for two different things. One is Watergate, the coverage from Woodward and Bernstein. But before that was the Pentagon Papers. And if you don't know the story, there was a researcher who worked for the federal government and then wound up working at the Rand Corporation, Daniel Ellsberg. Ellsberg absconded with a significant number of papers that went all the way back to the Truman administration, showing that we were never going to win Vietnam. He got a hold of them and gave them to the New York Times. Well, Bradlee, being the editor of the Post, and by the way, if you've never seen the film The Paper, Tom Hanks, Meryl Streep, I recommend it to you. It is a great telling of the tale. Well, Bradlee got a hold of it, and the Nixon Justice Department filed an injunction, and it went up to the Supreme Court. And Bradlee's argument as the editor of the Post was, it is our right to publish, provided that we are not endangering lives of our military. We have information. We have the First Amendment. We have the right to publish. Now, I ask your audience, and I ask you as the very smart and attuned host, that's right. Ask yourself this question. Could you see MSNBC, CNN, CBS, ABC, NBC, the current Washington Post, or the Times doing what Ben Bradlee did in the early 1970s? Well, of course not. Exactly. They won't. Because
there's no incentive. There's absolutely no incentive.
And Bradlee would define himself as a classical liberal. This is a guy who used to hang out with JFK on the weekends. I mean, his wife and Jack and Jackie were like this. You couldn't separate them, and even he recognizes, like, look, we've got to do this. We've got a story here. We know it's legit. Let's run it. Hunter, if he had been at the Washington Post when the Hunter Biden story broke in October 2020, does anybody think somebody like a Ben Bradlee would try to shut it down? No. He'd been like, screw you. I've got a story. It's legit. I've got my sources. We're straight on it. Let's run the thing.
And again, that comes back to a dare I say, a moral obligation to America, to the country, to whatever it is that holds us all together. And that kind of, I guess that kind of gets into, touches on the religion thing. That if if you don't have that, that should be okay, because we should have American values to be able to coalesce around. Before we dive into that, I want to ask everybody a big favor. Thank you so much for the likes. We got Morty over here, my co-host. Every single super chat, Cash App donation comes with a treat for him. There is the only way we can keep going. Thank you so much. Back to the program. So yeah.
Look at that poor dog. He's just laying there, just saggy-eyed, baggy-eyed. People, give that dog some food. Give that dog some food, y'all.
You guys know I hate begging, but it is what it is. We got to do what we got to do.
I'll beg. Hey,
I appreciate it. I appreciate
it. You did for me when you came on my channel. It's the least I can do on your behalf coming on yours. You know, so help a brother out over here, okay?
Help a brother out.
Help a brother out.
Let's if you don't mind,
Okay.
where do you find, or how should I ask this? How do you describe yourself when it comes to religion?
I would describe myself as Judeo-Christian, in the sense that I come out of a Protestant background. I liken myself to a recovering Baptist. Does that mean that I'm attending church services every week? No, but I do believe in the basic tenets of the Christian religion. As I say, am I practicing the way I should? Of course not. You know, could I be a much better example?
What does that mean?
Am I going to church every week? Am I doing by everything of the New Testament that you know Christ and Paul, his apostle, would recommend that we do toward our fellow man? No.
So you follow, when you say Judeo-Christian, I mean you follow the Bible as your central.
Yes.
That's divinely inspired.
Yes.
Okay. So I you know, the struggle for me is the you know, as I've said ad nauseum, the values that you'll find either within the book or within most Christian communities themselves, those are great. Those are awesome. You got nice people, people who want to live good lives, all of that good stuff.
Okay.
The problem I have is when it comes to the truth claims.
Okay.
Shout out to Zippy. Zippy is always giving. I appreciate you, brother. Even if you can't, it's whenever you can, guys. I like burner popcorners count. Unfortunately, shilling is a necessary evil. You know I hate doing it. And I know you guys could do it. I just gotta say it. Thank you. Those of you who can. If you can't, it is perfectly fine. So yes, it's the truth claims. And so why? Let's start with the Bible itself. Why would or why do you personally feel as if the Bible is a book that should be considered higher than any other book?
Okay, that's an interesting question that I haven't been asked in a very long time. I would argue two things, and I will keep in mind the caveat, I may not be able to give you the best answer in this moment, but there's two reasons. One is a question of faith. I'm not going to lie about that. If all things being equal, if you're asking me on the basis of what I've read of the Bible, do I think that it is God's spoken word to man? Yeah. Now, here's where the other part comes in. Apologetics. Basic Christian evidences. There is enough historical verification outside of the Bible itself that when I look at it in relation to the 66 books that make up the Bible, I sit there and go, okay, it has historical accuracy in terms of, you know, what it talks about. In other words, I can say, here's the location of this city. Here's this location. There was this civilization. There was, in other words, I can take you to historical markers and say, okay, I can verify these things outside of the Bible itself to say, okay, cool. There you go.
If you're starting from the position that the Bible is correct or valuable, that's what I'm trying to establish. So yes, if you already place value in the Bible, if you already believe it is divinely inspired, then there's plenty of things that you could look at that would point to your conclusion. But of course, we know that is that is confirmation bias. Like there's plenty of shout out to John with the Shroud of Turin. There's plenty of things outside of that would make somebody like me question why in the first place, even if it makes sense that because you believe the Bible, this then circles back and falls in line with believing in the Bible. That's a circle that has no beginning of why am I looking in the Bible in the first place? Like let's just pick the three major Abrahamic religions. Why the Bible and not the Torah or the Quran?
Okay, I'll give you an answer that I've heard others say, and the more I think about it, the more I believe it. I can take you to the grave of Muhammad.
Okay.
I could take you to the grave of Buddha. I could take you to the grave of Confucius. I could take you to the grave of name any major religious leader. I cannot take you to the grave of Jesus. Well, I could take you there, but I couldn't show you a body, because with Christianity, either we've got the biggest con in history or God told the truth.
Okay.
Because
so how do we know it's not the biggest con in history?
Well, all right. Hold on. Jesus made the statement, I will be crucified, and in 3 days I will rise from the dead. Okay. Produce the body. Now, before you say anything, just hear me out. You have 12 men, Peter, James, John, Thomas, Bartholomew, Matthew, etc.
Mm-hmm.
These men died some of the most excruciating deaths imaginable to man. Why would you be willing to die if you knew this was a lie? I mean, look, Nixon's own guys, as loyal as they were to Richard Nixon.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on.
Okay. All right.
We know. Shit, I forget the guy's name. Who was the guy that just self-immolated? For Palestine.
I know the young man you're talking about. I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Well, let's come back real quick. Shout out to John, Big Baller, with the 1999 super chat, and Morty already knows what that means. Thank you so much, sir. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you so much. You guys know I hate begging, but we got to do it. And John, thank you so much. So much for coming through. Indeed, John is the MVP. So let me fix this banner here. Shit, what was I just saying?
The young man who burned himself alive.
Oh, right. So we can ask ourselves, why would he do that if he didn't believe whatever? Well, the point is he did believe that he was going to fix the Middle East. He was just wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So the answer to your question is that they wouldn't. They would just I just assumed that they're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings me back to, why should I believe this book just because people were willing to give their life for it? Should we stop? Unless you're saying that we should completely cut off all aid to Israel and support Hamas, then it seems that you understand. Well, people can do crazy things in the name of a belief that they believe, but they just happen to be wrong.
Yeah, that's altogether possible too. But then again, there are other considerations, at least around the question of the resurrection of Jesus. Let me run through something. This may not be the best answer to your question.
Real quick, sorry, I didn't even read John's super chat. I was so excited. I said my answer is reading "What Does God Want" by Dr. Michael Heiser. I have not heard about this book, but I'm going to make a note of it. And it is absolutely "What Does God Want," Michael Heiser. It is absolutely not some point of pride that I can be like, oh, I could debate better than you. It is a lot of people. A lot of people are in that position. And sure. I want to make it clear that I am genuinely in search of the truth. And if the truth is Yahweh, the Christian God, that's what it is.
Okay.
But I just don't think that it is.
Okay. All right. Well, let me give you something to consider with regard to the resurrection of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And this argument's made by someone far better than I am. I recommend to you Dr. Gary Habermas, if you ever have the occasion to find any of his writings. Jesus Christ promised that his believers would enjoy eternal life and that they would be with him in heaven at the right hand of God. At the right hand of God. Okay, let's stop and think about the resurrection of Jesus for a second. So here's a man that basically for 48 hours was tortured in ways that are just make modern torture look like a Sunday picnic. I mean, Jesus probably bled out God knows how many pints of blood, was physically whipped, the skin ripped right off his body, a crown of thorns pressed down into his skull such that it would have caused the cranial area to expand out.
Mm-hmm.
He's hanging up on a cross for 6 hours, dehydrated, lacking of oxygen. When he does get something to drink, it's vinegar. He dies, and then a spear is shoved into his side, out of which pours water and blood. So if he's not bleeding out already, you got that going on.
How do you know? This is what I'm asking. You're now telling me what the Bible is telling you, but you're skipping the step of why I should accept that as truth in the first place. And again, I'm familiar with the stories. And not only did I see the Passion of Christ, but remember, I was born into the Catholic Church, and I was didn't even think that atheism could be a rational position until I was in college.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm familiar with what Christianity teaches.
But I'm coming to a point.
Okay.
So you take Christ down off the cross, you stick him in a cold tomb for 3 days and 3 nights, which means if he is alive, he's probably going through shock.
Sure.
Now, somehow out of all that, he moves a 2-ton stone, fights off a garrison of Roman soldiers, walks about a mile back to Jerusalem, climbs a bunch of steps to the upper room, walks in, and bloodied, bowed, beaten beyond all recognition, he looks at his disciples and goes, "I made it." And for the rest of their lives, these men are going to go about saying, "Yep, this is eternal life." This makes sense. Why? Why would anyone do that?
That's my
now.
question.
You asked me why should I believe the account of the Gospels? Have I got a good answer for that for you right now? No, because it's been a long time since I've boned up on Christian apologetics. I'm not going to sit there and say, "Oh, you just have to believe it." No, I'm not. No, I can't do that. But honestly, the resurrection of Jesus to me is the cut and dry difference between Christianity and most any other religion in the world. Because if this is a lie, okay, and let's just assume the possibility that it is. It's the biggest lie that's been told for 2,000 years, and an entire world religion has been based on this.
Bingo!
3, actually.
3 of them. Okay, 3. So we've done this, and the men who originated it did so. They gave up their lives for what they know was a lie. Now, don't get me
They
wrong.
didn't know it was a lie. They thought it was true. It would be very reasonable. It would be very reasonable for me for a person of that era to believe these things, because we didn't have science yet. Religion was the science of the day. And so the way that you understood the world around you would be looking at the Torah. That was the best approximation, recorded at least. You would talk to older people and stuff, but we didn't have these methods of understanding things. And my position really is that if there is a God, any of these religions that claims to be the answer stops science from potentially getting us closer to the reality, the actuality of what that God is, if it does exist. Because either God exists or God doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. There's no in between. So if God, let's just go with the assumption that God exists. It does make sense that, like, even though I am a hardcore anti-theist, agnostic atheist, I do not have the affirmative belief that there is no God, but I do not have any belief that any God exists. So, and I believe that religion is a bad thing for society. So even in that position, I do believe that it makes sense that there's probably something more than just, my five senses. That makes sense.
Okay.
Why we would, one, assume that we can't understand it. Two, give it a name that is very amorphous. Three, build a dogmatic religion around it without understanding it. After we have the process of science to get closer and closer and closer to that understanding, none of it makes sense to me. So from the very start, why is it that I should assume that what people said in a book so long ago has any relevance to reality?
Okay. I'll answer it this way, and I'm not trying to cop out on this one, but it's the best answer I can give you in the moment. If the question is the empirical evidence that proves the authenticity of the Bible such that everything else makes sense, then it seems to me if you're looking for the truth, you're going to have to determine whether or not, empirically speaking, outside of the Bible, if what is contained therein is indeed accurate. And there's historical apologetics that can help to that point. Mm-hmm. Now, that said, however, historical apologetics will only get someone so far because
right now,
how was it that an old professor of mine put it years ago? He said, apologetics is like a broom. It sweeps away the dust, but in the end, it doesn't really clean that. The house isn't going to stay clean. In other words, apologetics only gets you so far, to the point where faith has got to take over. So that's my best answer for you. But
okay, and I don't want to, let me know if you're getting out of your depth or whatever.
I'm not getting upset at all. I'm perfectly fine with this.
And so over on Instagram, the Naked Gordon said, basically, the blind man's story in the Bible. All I know is Jesus healed me. I was once was blind, but now I see. And that I'm glad that you said that, because if that's the case, I have no desire to take that away from you.
Mm-hmm.
I have no desire to take that away from anybody. I think I am just personally on a search for truth, and I don't believe that Christianity or any of the religions that we know of as religions represent a reality in such a way that allows for progress, the good kind of progress, not like the capital progressive type of progress.
Sure.
And so, what do you say to the idea that you've said it relies on faith? Mm-hmm. Well, what if it didn't? So, what if there was this? God does exist. You believe God exists, so that means that there's got to be some physical aspect of God in the universe that has to be reachable, measurable, touchable, tangible, something. Otherwise, we have absolutely no reason to believe. If we could better understand that,
okay,
would you want to, or would you be okay with just a book from 2,000 years ago?
No, I'd want to know.
Okay, so
I would,
and that's the part that confuses me, because all of you Christians are choosing to stop the search. And when you know that the scientific method, again, not the science, that the scientific method is the best way to understand truth and get outside of your biases, which are definitely going to be present in religious belief. So why is there no push to fight the biases, fight? Oh, we might think this because we want to believe this. Let's make sure that this is true, because we do in fact believe it's so true that we could test this, that, and that.
Well, I would respectfully submit that the very thing you're wanting is being done. I'm not saying you're not aware of it, and I'm not saying I'm the best advocate for it. But I would make an argument that there are men of faith, men and women of faith, who have said, okay, this is, I believe, help thou my unbelief. They're trying to find, okay, if this is what I'm going to believe, why then therefore should I believe it? That's why I think apologetics is such a phenomenally important thing. Now, can apologetics get someone to God by themselves? No, in the end, it only gets you so far, and faith takes over the rest of the way. But for example, you asked the question, can I see proof of God in the universe? Okay, I'll take that one. I say yes, if for no other reason than that the universe exists. Because, with all due respect to my friends who may be in one form or another an atheist or an agnostic, not you, I'm just saying in general, you cannot have an uncaused cause. That's why, for example, on a side note, that's why I find the theory of evolution just so maddening to me. Because, okay, so the universe came out of a big bang. All right, cool. What caused the bang? Well, these gases got together and there was an explosion. Well, okay.
I don't answer that question. I say,
Well,
I don't fucking know.
Well, okay. All right. Fair enough. But let's take this back to its start. Where'd the gases come from? Well, I don't know. Well, if we don't know where the gases, that's what I'm saying. If I remember the term, the term I'm getting at is you cannot have an uncaused cause.
Sure.
I would argue that if someone's looking for the proof of the fact that God exists, then look at the universe, because it came from somewhere.
I'm sure you've heard that this is the God of the gaps. I'm sure you're familiar with that phrase, no? God of the gaps. Yeah. So, like, personal incredulity is not an answer. So just because you can't think of you can't understand exactly how the Big Bang happened is not a argument for God. We don't understand. Look how beautiful the flower is. Must be God. That's essentially the argument that you're making. And that's just not how logic works. It is very possible that just like how, so there used to be something in science called phlogiston. Are you familiar with this?
I think I've heard the term, but it's been years since I've come across it.
Yeah, so before they really understood combustion, there was the belief that there was an element, I don't know if it's an element or a mineral, whatever the fuck, some shit in the air, phlogiston, that was fire. And so that was the scientific belief, and I don't know how long it lasted, but they did different tests, and because of how close to the idea of the fact that shit was just getting burnt up, that it was, and like it was the same chemicals, and they would turn into just carbon in the air and stuff. It made sense, and you could stick that in there, but it was wrong. And so just because it makes sense doesn't make it right.
Okay, but let's go back to what I said a moment ago. All right. If the universe came about by a big bang, and whatever the substance was that caused the bang to happen, where'd the substance come from and what caused the bang? That's just, but that goes to my point.
But what is that?
You cannot have an uncaused cause.
I'm not saying we do. I'm saying there must have been something that caused the Big Bang, but the fact that I don't know what it is it goes nowhere towards the fact that it is God.
But then where did it come from?
I don't know. That doesn't mean it's God. I don't know. I wasn't here.
Okay.
That doesn't mean it's God. So let's do this.
Let me ask you a question. So you can look at the world, and I say this respectfully. I'm not trying to. You can look at the world, and you would argue all of it, came about by random chance. As
of the Big Bang, yeah. I mean, what other rational?
How did it develop?
How did what develop?
Well, for example, if man evolved from primordial ooze, let's just use that term. Okay, then how did the ooze know to form what we are today?
Didn't know. That's what survival of the fittest means. That if you have some ooze that is not so great in this environment, and you have some ooze that's better in that environment, then the ooze that's better in that environment is going to survive, and the ooze that's not so good is going to die. And then the ooze that survives will then replicate. And now we have two oozes that are even better than the other. And that due to that generation after generation after generation after generation for millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of years, and you get speciation.
Yeah, but how'd the ooze know how to form a hand?
Again, it didn't know. There's no knowing. There's no knowing. It's just a process. That's like this is the great argument. It's like, wow, we walk up to this puddle, Okay. Just think of a puddle.
Okay.
And the puddle is thinking to itself, I'm pretty comfortable. I'm pretty comfy in this little space that I'm in. And actually, now that I think of it, it's perfectly fitted for my shape. The hole here must have been made for the water that made this puddle. Or water is liquid and fills the space. So you're making the same argument. The fact that what happened, the fact that humans fit the world is not the proof that God exists. If God exists, it would only, or if humans exist, it would only make sense that we are here. And again, I am not the one claiming that there is no God. This is wrong, sir. Never have I said there is no God. I simply don't believe that there is one. You could convince me otherwise.
So you're strictly speaking, you would be an agnostic.
I'm an agnostic atheist. Gnosticism is knowledge. Theism is the belief in a god or gods. A as a prefix means not. So I do not have the knowledge, and I do not have the belief in the god or gods.
Okay. But see, from my perspective, atheism is a wretched position to have to defend. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
All right. Do you have complete knowledge of everything in the universe?
No.
Is it therefore then possible that God could exist beyond your realm of knowledge?
Yes.
Okay. Then I would respectfully argue that you may as well just go ahead and shed the atheist label and just say you're a pure agnostic. Because in the end, that's what an agnostic...
Those aren't... No. Those are...
Yes,
that's like saying, are you libertarian or are you on the right? Shout out to Christian Watson. Welcome to the party.
Good evening, Professor.
We also got Pink Parasol. Welcome. Yeah, that's not... Sorry, say your question one more time.
No, I mean, to me, atheism is a wretched position to have to defend because in order for someone to be an atheist, they have to be able to say conclusively, I have complete knowledge of everything in the universe, and in my complete knowledge, I can say beyond the shadow of a doubt, God does not exist.
Wrong. So again, what does the word theism mean? A belief in a god or gods. So I don't have that. So when you ask me, do you believe in God? I say no. But if you ask me, do I believe God doesn't exist? I say no. That's the agnostic part. They're not mutually exclusive. I don't know, but I don't believe. So let me give you an example. Let me give you an analogy. Let's say you and I were going to dinner, and we show up at the restaurant, and we walk in the door, and the hostess is slung over the thing. She's dead.
Okay.
Knife in her back.
Okay.
So the only other people there are the chef and a server. Now, you say, well, it's the chef's knife, so I think the chef did it. If I say, well, I don't know, because theoretically, the server could have used the knife, or hell, the girl could have... Am I saying now that either the girl or the server, or for that matter, the chef, is the killer? Or am I abstaining from taking a position?
You're abstaining from taking a position.
Okay, so that's what's happening with God.
Okay.
So when it comes to who murdered or does exist, I am not making a claim. That's the agnostic part of it.
Okay.
The aspect that I'm willing to accept that if you can convince me that there is a reason that I should look at the Bible beyond the values of the stories and that stuff, the truth claims. If you can give me a reason, I will believe. I will go with that. But if you can't give me a reason, then I'm going to look at the Bible. Okay, whatever's in there. If it's good, I'll take it, and if it's not, I'll not. I won't. I'll look at a book from Immanuel Kant. If there's something good in there, and it's good, I'll take it. And if it's not, then I won't. I'll look at the Quran, so on and so forth. Okay. So the idea that atheism is a claim that God doesn't exist is just not what the word means. There are many atheists who do claim that they know. Those would be Gnostic atheists, and I think they're stupid. but I'm not one of them.
Okay.
So Gontek here says, I think you mean God, but does God exist is the wrong question. How do you use God is the right question and answer. Okay. What do you think about that?
Does good exist is the wrong. How do you use God?
I think he means does God exist?
Does God exist is the wrong question. How do you use God? That's an interesting way of phrasing it. I'd have to like flesh that out for me. When you say how do you use God, what does that mean exactly? You talking about moral principle? You're talking about
how much time you got? I can because I could drop the link and get some people up. We could have a party. It's up to you. I don't know how much time you have.
I got a little bit of time.
All right, let's grab some of these comments. And so Pink Parasol says atheists like to form groups saying there is no God. Why don't atheists form groups against the Easter Bunny or Santa Claus? Atheists then must believe there is a God. It's because nobody's making laws around the Easter Bunny or Santa Claus. There are people making rules around God.
And no one is claiming that the Easter Bunny or Santa Claus is divine. That's one of the other points. To be fair.
So I just dropped the link there. I'll pin it to the top. If you want to come up, if you have something to say to me, to the Front Porch Conservative, come on up. Christian says limits to the. Whoa, did we have a murder analogy that I missed here?
No, when you use the murder analogy in the we walk into the diner and find.
Stupid. Okay, so limits to the murder analogy. Association does not establish origin. It may be the chef's knife, but knives can pass many hands and often do in kitchens. But if the chef's hands are bloody and he's standing over the corpse, it would be illogical not to assume he played a role in the murder. But then we would still give him a trial, right? We still wouldn't say, oh, then we know for sure now that he's done the murder, because for all we know, the server knew when the chef was going to walk by the host stand and did it right before, specifically. So, all that stuff. That's the point, is that we don't really understand. We'll bring them up. Gontek said, atheist question. Satanists are offended by God. Yeah, fuck Satanists. Satanists are losers. Pink Parasol said, Indian just needs to move to North Korea. There are no laws following a supernatural God, but the human leader makes laws.
Come on now.
So this is what I mean, guys. If you want secular people to vote for Joe Biden, do this. That's it. It's that simple. Let's welcome our boy Guam Tech. Welcome to the party. How are you doing, sir?
Doing good, doing great. It's a pretty awesome day.
All right. So throw it at us. What do you have for us?
So just in regards to my comment, basically what I was saying was that the question of whether or not God exists isn't really the right question, in my opinion, because really what seems to matter whenever it comes to God, religion, whatever religion you are, whatever God you worship, any of that stuff, it would be, how do you use that God? How do you use that religion? What does it do for you in your real life? There are many people who would be able to sit there and say that I use God every day, but yet they use very hateful terms. They use very hateful rhetoric. They use God as a bludgeon, where there are other people who use God or other gods whatsoever, whatever, to live a better life, have a community, that kind of thing. Which is basically what I was trying to say at that, is that the question of whether or not God exists, like, what does it really matter? What is God doing?
How can you use something that doesn't exist?
Are you using God, or are you using his teaching?
Well, I can use his teaching without his teaching. I can use I can use the stories of the Bible without having to believe in him at all. Exactly.
So why should we have it? Why should we know if God exists if you can still use the teachings?
Because I want a good society.
Well, what does answering the question of whether or not God exists have to do with having a good society?
Because if God does exist, and then the truth claims that don't make sense within the paradigm that we already understand things, it will change. I now have a reason to say, okay, well, that doesn't make sense to me, the earthly being. But if the creator of the universe, who's a conscious being, said it, okay, well, that changes things. But if I don't know that person exists, then I'm just going to use the basic human logic that has gotten me this far all along. Shout out to M169. Welcome to the party.
Good evening. How's everybody doing?
Sounding crisp. Welcome.
Very well, thank you.
I know I got you triggered. Hit me with it.
How about this? How about living your life as if it is real, accepting that it might not be? And it kind of follows along with your idea of you appreciate the values. You don't like the dogma, but you do appreciate the values, correct?
Right.
Okay. Proceed from there. Just proceed from there.
Right,
And
but
the fact of the matter is, like I said, the fact of the matter is, none of us are really going to know until we die, unless something happens and, God just shows up and says, I told you all along I was real. Okay?
What's stopping
if that happens, wonderful, great. If it doesn't, and all of this is a lie, when you die, that's when you'll find out. If it's not, that's when you'll find out. And who have you harmed?
I prefer to find out before that and be able to live appropriately.
Who have you harmed in the process living as if it's real?
A lot of people. There's, if you want to go down that road, there's women, there's gays, there's trans, there's a whole bunch of people.
No, that's not the question.
Trying to be part of the conservative movement who've been pushed away and been told that they're not good enough because they don't believe. I mean, you can act like you can act like because you're a good person. I know you're a good person. You can act like that because you're a good person. A Guamtech is a good person. Every person in this chat is a good person. That Christianity doesn't allow for harm. But that's not the case. That's not.
I do. I absolutely do. Because
okay, so we agree that there is harm from believing from believing in Christianity, and let's not forget.
Absolutely. And
let's not forget.
I'm not denying that.
So
I'm not burying my head in the sand and saying harm hasn't been done in that name. I'm talking about you as an individual. You, nobody else. You are going to treat people with respect and kindness, and you're going to treat them the way you would want to be treated. You're living up to the golden rule there, right? And as Jesus said, all the law is summed up in this. Treat your neighbor as yourself. It's right there.
So okay, fair.
So fair. That is
so you but you guys know that is how I live my life, right? Does anybody disagree with the fact that I live as if I was a Christian? As far as you know,
as far as I know, that's okay. You have not presented yourself in any other way.
Okay, so let's put a pin in that. Then let's go back to earlier this week when we were watching Libs of TikTok talk to we were watching Libs of TikTok talk to Taylor Lorenz. If you're not, let me write that. Okay, there we go. And she was talking about the notion of gender stuff, and the question was, what's the harm? What's the harm? Do you remember what Libs of TikTok said?
Yeah, she said to lie.
And then do you remember how Taylor Lorenz reacted and what she said?
Can't recall her reaction.
She's like, yeah, but what's the actual harm?
It is, yeah, but it is a lie.
And we all agreed that would excuse me.
It was my drop moment. Yeah.
The fact that you are lying to people and operating on a lie is in and of itself bad.
True.
So why is that not the case with religion?
Here's the question, though.
No, it's a lie. You have certain knowledge. It is a lie. You know what you're saying is false. You know what you're saying is wrong. At this point, we are taking it on faith that it's not. I'm going to sit here right now and tell you, I could be wrong. I could be wrong on all of it.
Okay.
I am taking it on faith that it's true. So I don't know what else to tell you on that.
I got my take.
So, okay.
I was going to say that as
Go
far as
on,
the
Mike, and
lie
then
goes,
Zippy.
All right.
as far as the lie goes, if we were to look at Christianity and other religions and whatnot, is there a way of being able to prove that there are some aspects of it that, if used the right way, are beneficial to you in your life?
Sure.
Is that a provable thing that we would be able to see?
Yeah.
Yes. So my question then would be, let's say there was anything that was just left for us somewhere, and one day humanity found it, and we realized, like, it doesn't matter who made this. This is provably going to help us and be useful to us.
So then let's
Would it
make those
matter?
laws because of the fact that they are useful to us, not because Sky Daddy said so.
And that's where I'm getting at. Why would you actually want to prove whether or not God exists if the rules work?
Because I want to know the truth.
But what
If the rules work, then I want to. If the rules work, I want to implement the rules because of the reason that the rules work. If the rules work because of the fact that God exists, then I want to know the truth. I want to understand, because it's not just flat across. None of you have biblical morality. None of you. You all have secular morality. None of you are trying to stone hoes in the street. None of you are trying to kill people for wearing two different types of cloth. So miss me with this fucking bullshit of it works. It doesn't work. That's why you pick and choose what you like and what you don't like. If it was divinely inspired, it seems like it would be perfect for all time. But it's not. So let's go to Zippy.
My take is kind of like God is like any other fictional thing which can be used to aid in spreading good. It's not necessarily that you're focusing on God. Many do, and I think that kind of leads them astray because they go to the holier than thou route, but that's kind of a secondary problem. But you use a thing, whatever can, grant inspiration and whatnot to do good. But people do misuse it like they misuse many other things.
True. No, it's definitely not gay bashing hour. I mean, as much as I'm not a fan of gender ideology, it is definitely not a gay bashing hour. I mean, I don't know. I'll throw it to the Christian. Just kidding.
Gender absolutionism, or not absolution, abolitionism.
But so why then? Why is there this acceptance of lack of truth? If we all had that discomfort, that dislike of the moment when Taylor Lorenz is talking about gender bullshit, and she's saying, okay, it's not true, but what's the harm? If we can all see the problem in that, then why can't we see the problem the other way around? Because the fact is, I'm perfectly fine with an adult who's been experiencing gender dysphoria, going and changing their gender and living however the fuck they want to live. I'm perfectly fine with a gay dude butt fucking his buddy and doing whatever. I'm perfectly fine with that. I only care about keeping the children safe. Yeah. So if we're getting to the point of, it's not even really, it's this modern Christianity. It's this quasi-Christianity. It's this, it's either God or it's not. You're trying to have your cake and eat it too. It's divinely inspired by the God that knows everything about everything, but he got this stuff wrong, so we're going to fix it. Which one is it?
But you're the one who's saying it's either God or not. We're the one saying that what does it matter if it's God or not? We have things that are working. And okay, everything
so
has
fine. So if it doesn't matter, then get rid of your faith and let's just go on the values that we can provably work. I'm
are
totally
you a Jedi? All or nothing is Jedi.
How are the wait?
Let me have my faith. You go along and you do what you're gonna do. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, and we live and let live.
Come on, Maga Donut's asking, how are the children endangered? The children are endangered by people telling them that they can change their gender and fucking their entire lives up. That's how. Yeah, many detransitioner stories. Exactly what Pink Parasol said. Who is telling them this? The fucking gender ideology motherfuckers and everybody in the media and the left wing hegemony. Anyway, That is my question. Why is it okay here if it's not okay there?
Can I?
If your answer is that if it's just the fact that, well, gender ideology is not okay, then fine, we can make that a difference. But that's not what any of you have said. I can make your arguments better than you can. The reason that it's not okay that Taylor Lorenz is like, well, what's the actual harm, is because there actually is harm. But you think that there is no harm with Christianity because everybody's just, it's about love your neighbor.
That's
I'm
not what I
telling
said.
you, I know that's not what you said, but that's the argument that you're making. What I am telling you is that there absolutely are positive aspects of Christianity. Those are the things that most of us embody, believe or not believe. But the fact is, there is a lot of stuff that is not good. And you support that by supporting the Bible, by supporting the word God, by supporting the word Christianity, all of that stuff. Christian, I apologize. I missed your question. If you could retype it.
I'd like to also know what our guest ended up wanting to say about it. We haven't really got to hear his side yet.
Yeah, throw it to him because you don't got shit to say.
I got stuff. I'm kidding.
I'm kidding.
Well, okay. Well, let's take the question of religion out of it for a second. Let's just try and divine what the truth is. I would make an argument. We started talking about this on my channel the other night, and you come at it from a more utilitarian standpoint, and that is, okay, well, whatever achieves the greatest amount of good, well, then therefore that must be what we should have in our society. My question is, well, what if you have a disagreement about what is good? I mean, to go back to an analogy I started to use the other night, if I walked up to you right now and took out every bit of cash out of your wallet, took out your credit card, spent the cash, ran everything up, would you say that what I had done was wrong?
Say that one more time. The last part.
If I walked up to you, took every bit of cash out of your wallet right now, took out your credit cards, spent the cash, ran up your credit cards, and had no intention of giving you anything, and had done so without your permission, and had done physical violence to you doing it, would you say that what I had done is wrong?
Yes.
Why?
Because it moves us away from the greatest well-being for all human beings, and it moves us towards the greatest suffering for all human beings.
And if I disagree with that, that leaves us where?
Then I don't know what the fuck you mean by morality.
No, but my point is this. In order for you to be able to say something is wrong...
I know what your point is. Your point is that if I don't have a God, then how can I say what is good or what is bad?
I didn't say that.
Okay.
What my point is this. In order for you to be able to say that something is wrong, you have to appeal to something higher than you and I. Because if we disagree on what is wrong, then there's only then for you, in order to be right in this scenario that I'm describing, that you have to appeal to something beyond you and I, which means there's some greater question of truth out in the universe.
Collective.
Well, and yeah, I'll get right to that, but really quick, shout out to Mid. So Mark signing up as a member. Shout out, and of course that comes with a treat. Morty, thank you so very much, sir. Very, very, very much appreciated. All right. So yes, you have to appeal to something, right? You can't just say you can't just say I want it this way because I want it this way. So again, we can look to religious text, moral, philosophical text, and otherwise. What do we mean by morality? And
you're asking for definition?
No. I'm saying that we could that's the question that's on the table. And so in order to answer it, then we have to understand what is the goal of what we're talking about. So if I don't believe in a God, then I still need some like you said, something to base that on, some framework. And so again, Sam Harris has gone off the deep end, but 10 years ago, that dude was on point, and he wrote a book called The Moral Landscape. And he said that he made the claim that just like the game of chess, thank you, brother. Very much appreciated. The game of chess, we made it up. There's no inherent rules of the universe to chess, right? We made it up. But once we make it up and say, okay, these are the rules, then there are objective moves that are better and there are worse. So then if we're talking about morality and we have to decide how do we decide what's good and what's bad, even from a selfish perspective, I'm a person. I have feelings. I don't want those feelings to be bad. I don't want to hurt. I can understand that if I cause that stuff to other people, then it's more likely to be caused to me. So no God necessary. I don't like getting hit in the face. Other people probably don't like getting hit in the face and getting their wallet stolen, all those other things. So probably we shouldn't do it.
Okay. But again, if
Where's
I
the
don't
God
agree with
necessary?
any, if I don't agree with any of that, where does that leave us?
You're wrong. But wait, you would agree? Would anybody agree that if you said the beating somebody up and taking their wallet is not wrong?
Yes, I would absolutely
They
agree.
would be
It's not
wrong. Then you would just not be in terms of our society. What do you think is wrong then? You're the odd man out now. Because even though I don't believe in a God, me and Christian A, Christian B, Christian C, and Christian C all agree on what is good and what is bad.
Mm-hmm. And I don't. So how do you settle the dispute between you and I? I say that taking your wallet and taking your cash and taking everything else is perfectly within my right to do it.
Yeah,
You say that I'm
you're
wrong.
So people are allowed to be wrong, and then we throw you in
you
jail,
keep-
and then you don't
you-
get to hurt any more
you-
people.
But again, by what right do you have to put me in jail?
Because we have a government that allows
my point that I'm getting to is you keep appealing to something that's higher than both of us as the objective standard to determine how we
I'm
should
appealing to my own experience. I don't want to be hit.
Agree with your experience.
Okay, that's fine. You don't have to agree with my experience. Everybody else agrees with my experience. Therefore, the law is that if you do what you just said, you go to jail. And I think that works.
So the majority determines the morality.
Yeah.
So the majority determines the morality.
Unfortunately, yeah. When slavery was legal, that's how it works. And better or worse,
where was your
God then? Where was your God then? Majority absolutely decides right and wrong.
The majority is wrong.
Then the world sucks, just like it did for a lot of people for a long time, which is precisely why we shouldn't look to fucking bullshit, celestial divinity bullshit, and actually look at science to determine what is right and wrong. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be here all week. So let's put a pin in that for a moment, and let's get back to Christian's question here. So he said, how much of my political commentary is focused on anti-religion in 2024? Is that a sound framework? In the 80s, during the reign of Falwell, I would understand. Why now? So this is a great question. And so I don't know. I don't know if it's a sound framework, but it is the best understanding that I have of how to move forward. As I continue to talk to people like Front Porch Conservative and you guys in the chat, Lana, Guamtech, Zippy, all of you guys, as I continue to talk to you guys, when somebody can say, oh, well, that doesn't work because of this, then I'll change it. And I forget who I was talking to. Was it Guamtech? Was it you? I don't know. It might have been. I was just talking to somebody. I was like, you know what? I can definitely see myself becoming creating some type of thing that's like a secular conservative, or excuse me, a secular Christian or something like that, like a non-belief, something like that. Maybe it is the case that that most people are too shitty to be able to find that morality without a God, without dogma. Maybe I would need to see a lot more before I answer that question. But I don't feel like I'm an amazing person. And if I can figure it out, then I think all of you can. Because it's not complicated. You already do it. You just don't realize it. Because again, you're not stoning people for adultery, and you're not giving people shit for wearing two different types of cloth. I'm sure you've been to Red Lobster. These are all sins. And all the sins are equal in the eyes of God, are they not? So why are you doing them?
Oh, what? No.
Go ahead, Zippy.
Oh, I was just thinking that seafood isn't necessarily the same thing you get in rivers and lakes, but that's a rabbit hole.
Fair enough, but are they? But that's fair. But are they questioning? Are they making sure that this is the right type of aquatic food that I can eat?
But
why?
I mean,
because you know that is not immoral. You know that doesn't cause more human suffering to eat a lobster over a burger.
But the strange thing too is that you're bringing up some of these rules that were written so long ago, right? And you're talking about basically a Bible that was more useful to older civilizations than us. But every religion before the Bible ended up leading its way to the Bible with their weird rules and everything like that. And the Bible got rid of some of those. So who's to say that we're not in a position right now where we're just currently adding to and taking away for what our civilization needs right now? I'm not even necessarily saying that being a person who that believes in the Bible is the right thing. I'm saying that a guideline is the right thing.
Sure. And
Yeah,
that sorry, go ahead.
No,
You're
I
good.
strongly, no, it's, you know how I am with words. It's all word soup, but I strongly believe in the evolution of religion, that it's just guidelines compiled and adjusted as needed over time.
Yep.
Can I say something on the collective thing before it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Human collective is the objective standard which reflects morality, as God is used to adjust morality as fractional groups vie for power. I hate to poo-poo on the religious, but it is kind of what it is that religion is used as a tool much more than it should be. It should be, it should be more of your lifestyle than a tool. If it should be something you should lead by rather than annoy others with. But
yeah, and I definitely think that in this group there's way more people who are doing it quote unquote in the right way and not Bible thumping. And a good example of the bad way would be like the Westboro Baptist Church protesting soldiers' funerals with God hate. I don't even know if you can say that word on here anymore, but God hates FAGs. I don't know if you can say that, but
British cigarettes, I believe, is the other term.
British cigarettes. There you go. But get back to Liverpool. Shout out. Welcome to the party. Said science doesn't determine what's right or wrong. For example, science says a crocodile will wait to eat a human. A human will wait to kill a human being. Correct. But that is where moral philosophy comes into place. Into play. That can include religious text, religious ideas, religious. It doesn't just end though at one book. So moral philosophy is like religion plus.
Also, the collective is filled with individuals who kind of balance the chaos, as it were, because it's why the collective doesn't always get ahead and has its absolute moral authority over everything, because it has to deal with the individuals therein. There has to be a balance. If you abandon the individual, we're all screwed.
Yeah, I agree. And Pink Parasol is saying that I was agnostic 35 years ago and I believe I'm a better person today. Again, that's why I don't want to take religion away from anybody. My idea of the American identity is taking the values that we all believe in, whether you got there from the Bible or you got there from some other way. We all agree on the fact that family is important, that community is important, that tradition is important, that gratitude is important, that people need grace, that we need to be forthcoming with forgiveness and all of these things. All of these things are absolutely crucial to the success and progression of a society. What's not is a God belief or a dogma of any kind. And again, whether the dogma right now, we're talking about religion as a dogma, but let's not pretend that the leftists don't have their own dogma. Just because they don't have a God does not mean that they have turned the idea of man can turn into female as a dogmatic idea, because that is their axiom. They start from there and they make exactly the same mistakes that you do. They make exactly the same mistakes that you do in different ways, and I would argue in way more harmful ways. But that doesn't change the fact that dogma is always bad.
True. And just getting back to as well what you were saying about Taylor, what was it? Was it Taylor Lorenz?
Yeah.
And when she said it was the lie, and what is the harm in the lie? So, okay. We all know that there are problems with some of the gender ideology stuff, with the trans and kids, all of that stuff, right? You said you want to keep it away from the kids. But a full-grown adult, which we've all agreed on before, can make these kind of decisions, right?
Yep.
So if a full-grown adult can make these kind of decisions to trans themselves and go through that process, and we think that that's okay, then what is the problem with a full-grown adult? And I'm just saying adult right now because we'll leave the kids out of it. That's a whole nother thing. But a full-grown adult being able to say that they live as though God exists and that they believe in the God. There's nothing wrong there, right?
Until
they start using it to bash other people, right?
Or I don't even care about that. I don't even. I mean, I do care about that. It's not. It's about legislation. It's about legislation and culture and the idea that y'all are on the same team because you believe in God. But as I say all the time, on this Sunday, you're definitely going to go to church because you're such a good Christian. So before you walk in, think to yourself, what is God? And you think to yourself that answer. Have that answer in your head. And you go to the person, you sit down in your pew and you ask the person to your left, what is God? And you're going to get a different answer. And not only that, but you turn to the person to your right and you ask the person, what is God? And you're going to get a third different answer. So there is no cohesion. There is false cohesion. There's this false idea that we're all on the same team and we should push this, even though you are all viewing it in a different context. It is a false, it's a false consensus.
Exactly why I say, though, that the wrong question is, what is God? It is, what does God do for you?
Fine. I completely, I will take that. However, it raises the question, what is God? When you say, God said this, so we should do this because of God. So when people stop using religious language like that, remember, God is bad at being a word. What is the purpose of words? To take the thoughts and ideas that are in my head and put them into your head. The example I just gave with going into church and thinking about what is God. When I say God, you have no fucking clue what is in my head. When M169 says God, she has a perfect idea of what she believes. Oh, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But you know what you mean when you say God. But Guamtech believes in God. But what Guamtech thinks of when he hears the word God, and what Front Porch Conservative thinks of when he says God, and what M169 thinks of when she says God, they are all different concepts. So God is bad at being a word. And when we're using a bad word to keep us all together, that is going to have bad effects.
Yeah, but what if I can't define the word correctly, but it doesn't mean the word's wrong?
Then we need to get better.
Hold on. 3 blind men walk up to an elephant. One man grabs a hold of something in the back, grabs a hold of something in the back end, and says, "Ah, I know what an elephant looks like. It's long and skinny. It's kind of a little bit of a tuft of hair on the end of one end of this thing. But okay, this is what an elephant guys. The other blind guys in the middle, he's got a hold of the gut of this thing. No, an elephant's like a big boulder. It's big and scaly and yeah, but it's big and round. It's as round as my arms." The blind guy on the front says, "No, both of you are wrong. This elephant is I can feel these like sharp pointy things coming out of it. And on top of that, it's got this crazy snout thing that's at least 6-7 feet long." Now, all 3 of them have described the elephant, albeit imperfectly. But that doesn't mean because they imperfectly define what the elephant is, that the elephant's not an elephant.
Indeed. So it just means that they all were describing the same thing inaccurately, right?
Right.
And so if they didn't understand, what they were talking about, maybe they should have compared notes and saw, oh, okay, so this thing that we're talking about, elephant, isn't just a trout. It is a fucking trunk. It isn't just a tuft of hair. It isn't just this, but it is so much more precisely what the fuck I'm saying about God. It's not some little man in the sky that it says in your Bible. It's so much more, but y'all are saying no, it cannot be more, because guys who waited 30 years after Christ died to talk about it said this is the thing. So this is the thing. End of story.
Unitarians seem to hate metaphors.
Some of us leave ourselves open up enough to accept the fact that each of those individual descriptions could be one aspect or part of the whole.
And if
I
I
leave
may
myself
be
open for that.
and if I may be so
anyway.
bold, and if I may borrow from St. Paul, if anyone's being completely honest about it, to borrow his phraseology, we're all looking through the glass, but darkly. You know, can I sit here and say, well, yes, I know the elephant is this, I know the elephant is that, but my point is, the elephant is real, and I may not have my complete understanding of what it looks like, but it doesn't mean the elephant's not real, and there's not an objective way to understand it. Maybe I need to compare my notes.
Exactly.
But the elephant is real.
Exactly. That is the point. So you are not wrong that the elephant exists. You're not wrong that the elephant has a trunk. But neither is the other person for saying it's a big fucking this, that, the other. And so we should refrain on saying elephant means this until we compare notes and we know for sure, and we reproduce the idea that, well, okay, these people had these notes and said an elephant was this. Let's independently get other people to go out on the fucking the Amazon or whatever the fuck that you get where you find an elephant, I don't know, and blind them and see what they come up with. And then we do that 1,000 more times, you know, like a scientist. And then we have knowledge and no need for faith. I'll be here all week, guys. I'll be here all week.
So using the elephant analogy
proves my point.
It almost seems like you're saying that instead of listening to the blind people talk about the elephant, comparing notes, coming to a full conclusion, we just tell the blind people, stop focusing on that elephant.
No,
just follow its tracks.
No. The blind people would be the priests, the elderlies, the whatever. We in the elephant analogy, the people who are being told about the elephant are the people being told the word. So we have one priest saying an elephant is just the trunk. So he's telling you, he is the authority. He is telling you it's a trunk. That's what it is. That's what God is. And so you live your life based on this trunk, is leading life, whatever. When there's other priests out there talking about, well, an elephant is a big foot, an elephant is a thin tail, an elephant is and you guys are all saying, hey, we all agree, all right? We live by the elephant. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, but we all live by the elephant. So if you don't believe in the elephant, then you can get the fuck out of here. When really, you're all talking about different shit. And so instead of saying, it's not about not listening to the people who are touching the elephant. It's about making sure that the people who are touching the elephant have the information that they purport to be giving us.
But how are they going to get the information except through their own experience?
From other people doing the same thing. Yeah, repetition. That's how science works. You do a thing, and then you do it again, and then you do it again, and then you do it again. And if you can replicate it over and 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 over, then you know.
I get where his frustration is coming from. Everything is kind of, well, not everything, but things are lost in translation and metaphors, and everyone's kind of not speaking on the same page, which causes a lot of information jumble.
Mm-hmm. Can you fix that, or you're just pointing it out?
Well, that's what you're getting frustrated with, because everybody's talking about religion and God and whatnot, but not everyone's on the same page, which leads to a lot of randomness. It's just frustrating if you're very, utilitarian focused. You want things to work. You want everyone to be as happy as they naturally possibly can, but everybody's on different pages all over the place.
So would you guys, so we'll go around, Front Porch Conservative, would you agree with what Christ Brings the Sword says here? There is the Word of God and there's everything else. Agree or disagree?
Which God?
We're gonna go around.
I'll agree with the statement.
Okay, and 169?
Yeah, I'll agree.
Contact?
I can't agree.
There you go. So there we go. There we go. We didn't even need to get to the other atheists on the panel. There's three Christians on the panel, all within the same very narrow scope of shit that we care all about.
I'm very much agnostic. I believe in God, but I believe everything is kind of an aspect of God. So that kind of totally screws over the Abrahamics, because the Abrahamics are just an evolution of everything that's come before. So it's kind of, we are, we're getting there to actually see,
Christian is pinned to the top of the chat.
To be able to really see God, but the problem is that we're all still fighting over it, rather than kind of, just
Y'all may be
Yeah.
fighting over what God is. I'm the only one sitting here saying it doesn't fucking matter what God is.
No, you got it. You got it. You got it. You got it. You got
That
it.
is fair. All right, so the Naked Gordons over on IG said the weird rules were written by the Jews in the Torah. When Jesus came, he became the, quote, perfect sacrifice. So there was no longer a need to keep the legalistic laws of the Torah, shellfish, mixed fibers, etc. But again,
Yeah, that's what most
if
Christians
you believe that he was the Son of God, all of this insists upon itself. It
Yes,
makes
rests
sense
on
if you already
faith.
believe it. But in no other area of life would we say that you should go along with something because you can make it make sense. There is no other area where you would treat it that way. Yet when it comes to religion, because you have these things, and to the leftists, when it comes to and who brought this up? Somebody was saying, hold on. Oh, Dietrich was saying, I disagree completely comparing the dogma of the left to Christianity. Christianity is open roster as a minority that believe in persecuting others. The left has a bouncer at the door. I completely agree. Not all dogmas are built the same. That does not mean that dogma is the only way that you get to these horrible ideas and behaviors. You cannot get to transing children without dogma. You cannot get to being a suicide bomber without dogma. It's two sides of the same coin, and you guys see it on the other side, but you don't see it here. Let's welcome Christian Watson. Welcome to the party.
Hello. How are you?
Doing well,
Good.
doing well. What did you think about all of this?
Well, I think that, I was listening, and normally I wouldn't get on one of these things. I would just listen and comment, but I figured I was offering so much commentary that it might behoove me to get on and talk about what I think instead. So here I am.
Welcome. So, yeah, tell me, we were getting kind of lit there. And so I think mostly what you were saying is that, is it such a good idea to be attacking Christianity? Do you want to go off on that kind of idea?
Yeah. So I find this myopic obsession with Christianity to be really odd, primarily because if I'm going to survey the top 5 threats, you're in America, right, to the preservation of the American Republic, Christianity is not even in the top 30 or top 50. The biggest threat is the lack of moral.
Yeah, sorry, yes. What was the list of the top 30? What?
If I was to ask what are the top 5 threats to the existence of our republic, gotcha. Christianity is not even in the top 30.
Agreed.
Okay, so I was asking in that context why a lot of your commentary seems to focus entirely not just on religion in general, but on attacking religion and demonizing religion. I don't want to assume anything because I do have some assumptions, but I think it's better to hear it from the person than just come in assuming things. So I'd like to hear it from you.
So it's not so much attacking the religion as it is attacking the idea of dogma, attacking the acceptance of, well, I don't know this for sure, but I'm going to go as if I know it for sure. Because as I've said, there is no comparison between the leftist dogma and the Christian dogma. There's no comparison. Maybe in the Dark Ages, but like they're literally chopping up children, so they are way worse. But my point is, you can't get there unless you're willing to accept. Here's a position that I cannot substantiate. Yet I'm going to legislate based on it. And so if I'm going to say it's wrong for the transes, it can't be right for the Christians, even if you have the right ideas.
Who is legislating on the basis of Christianity, though? Let's be specific here. Like what's going on in that regard?
The GOP. And even if we're not talking specifically legislation, sorry?
No, because you said legislation, so I want to hold you to that, because when you say something like that, you should probably stick with it and defend it. So how is the GOP legislating in favor of Christianity? I would like to know this. I'm curious.
Okay, so let me amend that and say the justification for legislation becomes, God is this, therefore legislation. And apparently I smell like shit. Damn, I do need a shower, but you know, it is what it is. And
Jesus.
even if we take one step back from the actual legislation, the culture of bringing people into our way of thinking, when we, just making it as simple as left wing, right wing, the idea that as a secular conservative, there's been a lot of places where I've just been kind of shooed out of, even though I have the right ideas, just because I don't believe in the thing. And y'all can't prove the thing, but I'm supposed to believe in the thing, and I'm wrong.
Well, when
That's
you
just the wrong Christians.
Well,
I'm sorry.
hold on. That seems like two different questions. I mean,
Yeah.
the question of political participation may or may not be on the question of one's faith in in the existence of a God. Okay, I don't disagree with you. There are people participating in the political process that, unless you toe the line with them on everything, including questions of religion, they'll have absolutely nothing to do with you. But
yes,
political participation and religious belief are two separate questions that sometimes don't need to coincide with each other. And frankly, the question of faith, that's a whole separate question from political participation. I agree with you wholeheartedly on the idea that we need a coalition of many, albeit out of different backgrounds, beliefs, etc. But on the question of, is there such a thing as universal truth? Oh, that debate can be had the blessed day long, and Lord knows we're proving it tonight.
Indeed.
For sure.
Indeed.
Hey guys, I just want to say bye. I got to get back to some things, walk my dog, but good
All right, brother.
conversation.
Contact.
Thank you so much for hanging out. You have a good one.
Bye, guys.
Oh, beautiful.
Did I point out that I think you might be kind of leaning back towards the 90s a bit? Or the, what era was that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely gotten better. I will say that.
Oh,
But
it
again, if the
has.
issue is
It absolutely
dogma,
has.
then I'm focused on all dogma. I'm
Do me
focused
a
on all
favor.
dogma, and it's showing up worst in the leftist now. But that doesn't mean that your version of dogma is good. It just
Define
means it's not as
dogma.
bad as that dogma.
Define dogma.
A belief that cannot be questioned. So Dietrich says, the only issue I have with you is that you don't want to take away religion, but then get so heated telling your views and bastardize us as a group and claim we can't be right because our definitions are different. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's okay that you have that issue, but until you show me where I'm wrong about that, then unfortunately, you're going to continue to have that issue, because this is my position, and I'm very, very willing to be shown where I'm wrong. But if I think religion is a bad thing, because faith is a bad thing, because dogma is a bad thing, even if y'all specifically are good people and doing good things, doesn't mean that I'm not going to call out what I see as bullshit.
Okay, so there's several issues going on here, and all of them are kind of conjoined, but they're also separate. So I want to address, if I can address two or three, because I'll be honest, I'm a Christian. Am I the most devout Christian in the world? No. Do I backslide a lot? Yes, of course, regularly. And according to some people, there's no possible way I could be a Christian for reasons I won't get into on the stream. But I consider myself a Christian. I've accepted Christ as my Lord and Savior. I try to live my life off the basis of his example. I try to follow his commandments as best as I can. So I think that qualifies me as a Christian. So
fair enough.
The first problem is that you're conflating a lot of different things. You're conflating faith and dogma. Right. So all dogma is simply a set of things people believe that is engrafted into a single form. Typically, that forms the basis of a organization's beliefs. So the dogma of the Catholic Church is the Catechism. The dogma of the DNC is the DNC National Platform. The dogma of the RNC is the RNC National Platform. Okay. But dogma doesn't really require faith, because dogma, no, because listen, hear me out. Dogma doesn't require faith, because dogma, just taken by itself, is simply a statement of beliefs. And that largely depends on the beliefs themselves. You can believe something not on the basis of faith, but on the basis of no reflection whatsoever, just because you feel like it. How you believe something and the fact that you do believe something are two separate things. So if I'm a dogmatic person, you can't say for certain that I'm dogmatic because of my faith. You can't say for certain that I'm dogmatic because I'm not thinking about things. I might be rather thoughtful about my dogma, but in all reality, you see, principle or set of principles. Exactly. So
wait. Principles said what? laid down by an authority as
yeah,
incontrovertibly true. Incontrovertibly true.
And you've conflated several times faith and dogma.
So wait. How am I wrong? Wait. How am I wrong about that? We're talking about ideas that cannot be questioned. That is the issue I have. I have a tattoo that says "Believe nothing except that anything is possible." So and if you are taking anything and says I know, and you say I know this is correct, and I will not ever question that, how is that not dogma?
That's not what incontrovertibly true means. Incontrovertibly true simply means that it is self-evident and it appears to be true. That does not mean that you as someone cannot ask a question about the truth. In fact, one of the reasons that we arrive to truth is by the process of asking questions. We call this philosophy, the love of wisdom. So I don't accept the notion that if I have a dogma, I am somehow blind to truth, necessarily. I can be. And in psychology, they call this kind of phenomenon control belief systems. A control belief, we all have control beliefs. A control belief is simply something that we learned through the process of socialization. That's the psychological term for it. But a control belief within a closed belief system is called a totalizing belief. A totalizing belief is one that shuts your mind off to any other possibility and limits your intellectual horizons and keeps you in a one-track mind. I would argue that Christianity is the opposite in general of a control belief system, because Christianity, this is what distinguishes Christianity from every other religion in the world. Christianity says the will and your ability to use it to connect with God is the key to the health and safety of your soul. You willingly coming towards Christ, you willingly coming towards the Logos and bowing yourself down before that mighty transcendent value, that is what it actually means to be a Christian. So by definition, that is going to be anti-dogmatic in the sense that you are using it. What did Jesus do to dogmatists? He went to the Pharisees. He overturned the tables in the temple, called them all kinds of names, offended them. And for that reason, the government that subsidized them, the Roman Empire, had him killed. So I don't understand this idea that Christianity is necessarily dogmatic, or that if you're bound to a dogma, you have to be closed-minded. None of those things seem true to me. What does seem true to me is that you have had bad experiences with religious people, and you are using them to make broad generalizations about Christianity and attack the value of religion. And I would submit to you humbly that is not a wise way to do epistemology. That's not a wise way to do philosophy. And that is certainly not a wise way to build a coalition of people that you wish to have save this country.
Fair enough, but I was with you. But the act that the notion that it's about bad experiences with Christian people is false, because it has way more to do with the leftist dogma. And so fine, even if I can throw out that word. That's semantic. That's semantic bullshit to me. If you have an idea that you are not willing to question, whether it is that a God exists or that a man can transform into a female, call it dogma, call it Magda. I don't give a fuck what you call it. That notion, that mode of thinking is bad. Full stop. If you are not willing to question every single one of your beliefs, you are wrong. You are not acting in what is a best for society. So if you want to get rid of the word dogma, that's irrelevant to me. That's semantic. So if you agree that not being able to question a claim is a bad thing, then we're on the same page.
So if the idea is that closing your mind off to alternative beliefs and not questioning your own premises is bad, I absolutely agree with you. That is absolutely bad. But I think the problem is that is not a necessary consequence of Christianity. And I get back to Oliver Pope. I think that he's unfortunately wrong. Being a Christian, right?
Happens a lot among Christians. You guys don't tend to agree on the things. Even though you use the same words, you tend to agree on different things. You come across as if you agree on the same thing.
Right. There's over 33,000 denominations of Christianity. I understand there's variation, but there's also general principles. And those that fall outside of those principles tend not to be considered Christian, right? Because there are some Christians that don't actually accept Jesus Christ as a part of the Trinity. And a lot of them are kind of ostracized and put to the side as well. So there are some standards. And I think that the idea there's not any standards is just incorrect. But being a Christian fundamentally is about your struggle between the flesh and between the soul, the flesh and the spirit. What are the demands of God? What are the demands of your human body? That in itself belies dogma because doubt is inherent in that relationship. If you accept the Christian premise that we are all imperfect beings trying to render ourselves perfect by way of the image and grace of Christ and Christ alone, you have to accept that in that process, there is going to be a significant level of doubt and conflict within your heart and mind. What does the Bible say? That the heart is the most dangerous thing because you are not perfect. You are not created to be perfect.
I appreciate all these thoughts. I appreciate all these thoughts, and I think you're saying very good things that people should listen to. You're not addressing the idea that you accused me of using the wrong mentality, that it's not the same, and that all that stuff. Do we agree? If we agree that having an idea that you will not question is a bad thing, then that's the end of the conversation. Because as a Christian, if you are not willing to question whether or not, and when I say question, I don't mean within your heart, question within other people. We all have. I remember I was I don't want to say I was born in the Catholic Church. I was confirmed in the Methodist Church. So I'm very familiar with Christianity. I'm very familiar with being a Christian. I'm way more familiar with being a Christian than I am being an atheist. And so the point is, if we accept that there are some ideas that we are allowed to forego questioning, then inevitably we will get some bad ideas that are not able to be questioned, such as you can change your gender from male to female. That is the point.
No, I agree. The entire process of theology is questioning religious and spiritual assumptions, and many Christians engage in that. So we don't disagree whatsoever.
From Porch, well, and let me, for my part, put my 2 cents worth in. It seems to me you're asking individuals, and I say this with all due respect, you're asking individuals to do something that is impossible, and it's in this respect. You're asking them to prove something that may not be physically provable. Okay, maybe. What I'm getting at is this: I can believe in God. Can I prove to you that God exists? No. There's no way in the world I can do it. I can't prove to you that the wind exists, but I have full belief it is there.
You absolutely can prove the wind exists.
But you can't see it. You can't touch it. You can't.
So wait. You might be able
Hold on. You might be able to measure its effects after it passes through. You might be able to say it was blowing at this amount of speed. What is the meaningful difference?
What is the meaningful difference from knowing that wind has happened because you've seen the weather vane and actually, yes, you can feel the wind on your on your skin. And are we then saying that the only that which is detectable by your 5 senses is real?
But that's what you're asking. But that's what you're asking.
No, it's not.
Yes,
no, it's not. I'm asking for reasonable measurements of these things. If it's something that we can't touch,
then you're asking us to prove it. You're asking. You're saying they're saying, give me a certain degree.
So for example, I believe in love. I could never prove to you that I love somebody else, nor could you prove to me that that you love somebody. But I believe that love exists, and I believe that generally people don't just go around lying about being in love. And so there's a reasonable a reasonable level of belief and faith in the statement when somebody says, "I love my wife." They could be lying. Mm-hmm. I accept that. When somebody says that, that's already built in. So we can't know anything 100%. It's just it's a matter of levels. And so when we understand that there is nothing that is 100%, that everything is either at 99.9999999 or less, including God, including gender, and well, maybe not. I mean, we know that pretty well, but you know what I mean? That it gets to a point where you're operating on, well, I'm talking about the 100% thing. Everything else, like Christ brings a sword set. There's God's knowledge and there's everything else. No, there's not. Either God's knowledge is with everything else or it doesn't exist. If God exists, God exists. He's part of the universe. If he's not, then he doesn't exist. There's no in between.
This sounds what we call reductionist to me. This sounds very reductionist to me. No, and reductionism is not a sound way to do epistemology either. So the Christian idea of God is that he created the natural universe, but he is not of the natural universe. He's separate from the natural universe.
Okay, how do you know that? How do you know that? How do you know that?
Transcendent. No. You're asking two different things. You're asking me how.
You just made a claim. You said I'm wrong because X. You made a claim. You made a claim. You refuted what I said with a claim. So I'm now. How do you do that claim?
No, I didn't refute anything you said quite yet. I hope I will be able to in a moment, but not quite yet. I simply am trying to explain the nature of God according to the Christian worldview. I'm not trying to say that it's true or false. I'm simply trying to explain what Christians believe about God. So, if God is transcendent, and the knowledge of God and the existence of God is above the natural universe, then you can't reduce God in that framework to the natural universe. It's a contradiction in terms. So that's what that's all I was trying to say. Now, how can I prove that there's a transcendent God beyond a natural knowledge? I have to be a supernatural being to be able to do that, and I can't quite do that. Now,
does not make sense.
What I can do, I can use a series of logical arguments to try to investigate the nature of the universe and try to deduce from that some semblance of intelligent design and try to deduce from that some first cause. I can do that. That's been done throughout thousands of years of philosophy. I can do that. But can I go to the transcendent and prove that he exists in the way that you want me to? He wouldn't be transcendent he would not be transcendent if I could do that.
Okay, fine. And I'm willing to accept that's possible. I'm just not willing to accept that you know that that's the case.
I never said I knew that was the case, but all I did.
A lot of people have. A lot of people who call themselves Christians do. So maybe if you, Christian Watson, personally don't do that, great for you. Then you are a more intellectually honest person than most of the Christians that I've spoken to. But unfortunately for you, most Christians that I've spoken to claim that they know things that they cannot know. And it doesn't make me angry or upset. It just is not true. Just the same way that the trans people will say, well, actually, I'm a woman. No, the fuck you're not. You got a dick. You're a man.
Again, I think that if most of those Christians were PhD linguist scholars who were devoutly Christian but also intellectual, you might have a different perception about Christianity than if they're just people that simply throw their hands up in the air and say, hey, I know this for certain. I mean, the Bible teaches Christians to be humble and to submit all things to the Lord. Okay, so anyone that is trying to tell you... I still haven't gotten an answer on why I should care about what the Bible says in the first place. Well, because
round and round and round and round.
Okay, yeah, merry-go-round. I get it. I get it. I can do that.
Why should I believe in your religion over? So let's just take specifically. Let's take specifically Islam. Why should I believe in Christianity over Islam?
I'm not here to say why you should believe in Christianity. Now, I can tell you why I think Christianity is a more moral religion than Islam. I can tell you that.
I would agree with that. So
our prophet isn't someone who was a warlord and murdered little babies and girls through conquest in the name of jihad. So I think we're more moral than Islam.
You're free to come up.
I think. But no, here's what I'm trying to say. You made certain claims about God and the nature of God in the Christian framework. I believe those claims about God and the nature of God in the Christian framework are erroneous as you made them.
Which claims are we talking about?
The claims that if God is part of the natural universe, but I can't know him through the natural senses, he must not be real. That's a claim about God that belies the Christian understanding of God. That's a fallacy.
If I may,
please.
I agree that's a fallacy. The reason I was saying that is because Front Porch Conservative said we can't prove there's the wind. And so my point was that if we can feel the wind. So I was asking him if the standard was we can only know that is true if we accept it through our senses. So I agree with you. It's fallacious. I wasn't making that argument. I was making the point that it is in fact a fallacious argument.
Okay.
So let's go all the way back. Why should people think that the Christian faith is a better way to go through life than another ideology?
I have a few ideas, but I don't want to hog up anyone's time. So
please, the panel is equal to everybody.
So why is the Christian faith a better way to go through life than not? Well, first, because, and this is part of the conversation earlier that I thought was a little bit disconcerting, is that the Christian faith roots your moral sense in a foundation that goes beyond yourself.
Agreed.
So here's how this goes. If your moral ideas are limited to the self, and we accept that the self by itself is limited to our immediate experiences, then it follows that we can't have a complete understanding or complete way of dealing with the whole of the world just in our own experiences, because our experiences by definition are limited, coming from finite and limited creatures. The Christian faith gives us a standard beyond ourselves to better deal with the issues of the world that don't keep us trapped in our own experiences and don't subject us to our own biases. Now, you may counter and say, well, Christian, there are a lot of different Christian people that have their own biases about what the faith believes. That is true, but there also is a general sense of what Christianity is about. As I've mentioned, there are general standards, and those standards happen to belie any kind of subjective opinion in the face of what God is actually believed to be. So that's the first reason. Christianity provides moral grounding and moral clarity. That's the first reason.
Okay, so is it the only? So I agree that it does provide those things. Is it the only way? Is it the only way to provide those things?
No, it's not. But I think it's one of the better ways.
I actually don't disagree with you. What if there was an even better way?
I mean, what do you mean? What if there was an even better way?
I don't know. Just we can see that, you know, Christianity is better, generally better for people to live out these values than not, right?
Yeah, gives you a foundation.
We can make that distinction. So what if there was an even better way? Whatever better, whatever you are thinking of between the not God and that, take that and that unit of measurement, just add it on to what you believe is Christianity as it exists for you. It's that much
even
better. So as much better as your Christian ideology is for you, as opposed to the average atheist, that unit of betterness. What if that existed on top of what you're already saying and believing?
So if there was a moral system that helped me accord my actions better than Christianity, it would have to have a few qualifications. Number one, it would have to be rooted in the transcendent. So it would have to admit of a deity or something beyond this world. So already I wouldn't be forsaking my theistic premises, because any system that is better than Christianity, like you're saying, that is even more better, will still have to accord to that premise. So already I'm comfortable, because I'm not having to give up anything, because I already know what the standard of excellence is in terms of moral action.
Yep. So you'd be in favor of, if we could find a quote unquote better version of being close to divinity, we would want to enact that or tap into that or whatever. We would want to use that. Yeah. How do you know?
If that better way didn't reject Christian premises, I would. But if that better way rejected Christian premises, I can't do that, because in the view of the Christian, the only way to interact with divinity is through Christ. No one comes to the Father but by me.
Okay, but in this hypothetical, we've already established that it is better. You are closer to the God you are closer to Yahweh from this version, from this ideology than Christianity exists. It's a hypothetical. I'm not saying that this ideology exists.
Right,
I'm saying hypothetically if it did. Yes, if it did, if there was a way that went against your current Christian principles, but got you closer to the Christian God, you would not want that, because you would want to stick to the Christian values that you have now?
If there was a way that got me closer to God as Christians understood it, to go against my current principles, I have no problem with that, because the Bible was very clear that here's the truth that sacrifices all understanding. So it's not about me at that point.
Right. So how do you know that doesn't exist?
Well, no, here's the thing about this. Because this ultimately, I'm not saying you're doing this, but this ultimately leads to the gaps argument. You don't know it doesn't exist, therefore X, Y, Z has to be true, right? It's fallacious when Christians
anything has to be true.
I know I know you're not saying that. That's why I prefaced. You're not saying that. But I think this can lead to the gaps argument, where X, Y, Z is unknown, therefore X, Y, Z has to be true. So let me just phrase it by saying, we think in terms of probability. And probability is mediated by our rational sense. So I don't know for certain that anything in the world is 110% true. You both could be
right, but that's why we're using the thought experiment. So in the thought experiment, it is 100%. In this thought experiment, we go in the future in time, and we know for a fact that these people have been speaking to Yahweh, and they're like, "Yo, you're still looking at the Bible? What? We found this, and now we are closer to Yahweh, and you're going to heaven because you didn't know any better. But there's this new way that gets you closer to God than you are now. How do you know that does not exist?"
Well, so okay, let me just accept
your, feel free to jump in, please.
Yes, please do. Let me just accept your thought experiment. Let's assume it's correct. I have a lot of problems with it, but oftentimes when I am in conversation with philosophy people and I begin picking apart thought experiments, I get accused of being evasive. I'm not doing that. So let me just deal with the thought experiment as it is before I pick it apart, because it doesn't need to be picked apart. If these two people that you had mentioned began to talk to Yahweh somehow, and they said, "We have the way to Yahweh," I would have a lot of questions for them. I wouldn't shut them down. I would say, "Okay, what is he like? What's his nature?
Why?
Can you comprehend?"
Wait, whoa.
Because if they're claiming to talk to the Christian God and they can't describe his nature, no, if they're claiming to talk with the Christian God and they can't describe it, no, who says that?
Y'all don't talk to God? You don't pray? You don't? A lot of you in the chat have told me that you talk to God. So maybe I'm putting that onto you personally.
Okay.
I'm not sure never spoken to God, but that's a very common Christian thing that you talk to God.
No,
am I crazy for thinking that that's a common thing that Christians say they talk to God?
You're speaking over me, and then you're kind of distorting the concept.
Because you're going on.
I'm going on because these are issues that require fair treatment, and they're not very simplistic. That's why I'm going on, not to be long-winded. But let me answer your question. Do I talk to God? I pray. I communicate in my own way. But a conversation requires two ways. I don't hear anything back. There are Christians in the charismatic tradition that I come from. I was raised Pentecostal, that believe they literally hear the voice of God. They can heal the sick and cast out demons. Guess what? Those Christians are theologically incorrect, and they are doctrinally unsound.
How do you know?
We know for a fact that those Christians are.
Let's go to Front Porch Conservative.
Now, if I may, it seems to me, and maybe I didn't use the proper analogy to get to this, you're asking everyone to do something that is impossible. There's apologetic proof that can be offered to the defense of one's faith, and then there's the separate question of faith. I could give any number of people better than us, although I think Christian's doing a superb job, far better than I'm done in years.
I agree. Shut up. Wait.
No, but my point is this. I could sit here the blessed night long. We could argue till the rising of the sun on questions of apologetics, on the question of, is Christianity, as understood and currently constituted, the truth? In other words, is this God's spoken word to man about how he should relate, how the creation should relate to its creator? We can argue that the blessed day long, but in the end, there's only one thing that's going to matter in the end: whether or not by faith you can believe what is there. Now that's an entirely separate question.
But okay, but remember,
you're asking everyone to prove to you beyond the shadow of a doubt that what is in the Bible, what is being espoused as Christian doctrine, what is being espoused as Christian faith, is a provable, understandable, almost, if I may use the word, scientific commodity. That is never going to happen.
That's like 20 minutes ago, brother. No. That's like 20 minutes ago. The most recent thing I was saying is, if you could, as the atheist, I am, this far away from God's word, and if you could get that much better, closer to God's word, and know for sure that was, would you want to? And Christian said he would have questions. Well, why would you have questions?
Because the Bible.
Real quick, because the reason I ask why would you have questions is because I'm in that exact position. You're claiming you have answers, And I'm sitting here saying I have questions, and you're like, well, what are your questions for?
No, I'm not. I'm entertaining questions. Let's have this conversation. I like your questions.
Okay.
I like your
Yes,
questions.
And I was going to say real quick, I wanted to say dilly to Christian. Shout out for coming up. You've definitely raised the quality of this conversation.
And if I may use one of the oldest expressions, I believe, help thou my unbelief. There are moments when the most devout person who believes in the faith of the Bible has doubt. There'll never not be a day until they slip the surly bonds of earth and touch the face of God, if I may borrow from the poet. There will never be a day when there's not some measure of doubt. But even in the midst of the doubt, even in the midst of the darkness, even in the midst of everything else, there is a faith that says, I am willing to believe this, and on the basis of that faith, I will step forward and live a life that is separate and distinct from the world in which I find myself. But ask me, can I prove to you or prove to anyone beyond the shadow of a doubt with 100% certainty that I know that this is absolutely the truth? It's impossible. Why? Because I am a flawed, failed, frail human being with reason that is just as flawed, frail, and incorrect.
Fine. And I don't blame you for any of that. I'm just trying to do. It seems based on the time I spent as a Christian as well as the time after that, it seems that the overwhelming majority of people who agree with our values that we all collectively agree on seem to think that not only holding the values but believing in the truth claims and having faith in those truth claims is necessary for supporting the political aspects of what we're talking about. So yes, in this particular conversation, we're getting down in the weeds of the religious conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But even when it doesn't, it always comes back to the idea that, hey, if I have to go this far to show you that, well, I am a human being who doesn't believe in God, but can have this moral structure, and I belong on your team politically. And again, not you three specifically, but Christians in general, then we are going to lose. That's the point.
If I may,
please.
I think, and I'm not trying to be meticulous or a stickler here, but I think this conversation is so important that we have to be very precise. Indeed. You're falling into what I call the hasty generalization fallacy. And this is why, at first, and maybe I was wrong, maybe I'm still wrong. This is why at first I said that you are taking the interactions that you've had with Christians, because you've said it yourself, Christians you've talked to, and you're extrapolating that out to be the general sense amongst Christians in general. That is incorrect. And by your own logic, you would admit it's incorrect because you admit there's so much variation in what Christians believe. So I think that you should endeavor in the principle of charitability and understand that amongst any group, you're going to have factions, and factions have their own subset of beliefs. But in general, you have to look at the I don't want to say the dogma, but the principles of the, let's say in this case, the religion that you're analyzing in order to make general claims. A general claim cannot be logically made on the basis of specific specific and individualized cases. I can't go into a community and see someone, let's say someone steals a bike, and then say, this community is full of a bunch of robbers and thieves, when that community, in this case, is one of the top-ranking median income communities in the entire country. It would make no sense to do that.
Sure, and that's fair. And I think that I think that's fair, but I do also think that it's worth pointing out that when I like my anecdotal experience with Christians is not just talking to a couple of them. It was spending 20 years of my life in the church, and most of the people who follow this channel are Christians. So that is fair. It is anecdotal. I don't think any of us have the ability to operate in this way in any other way than our anecdotal experience. So
I disagree.
I disagree. Okay. How would somebody know if so specifically you're saying that somebody could know if Christianity is better for society or worse for society by a different metric than their anecdote?
Yes, you can.
Not the values, the belief.
You can learn by empiricism. Which countries has Christianity been enacted in, and what have been the face of those
Correlation is not causation.
No, it's not causation. You're correct. But if I can demonstrate,
how do we know that it's not the values? How do we know it's not the Judeo-Christian values?
No. Hold on.
Separated from faith.
No, hold on. If I can demonstrate to you that Christianity has been enacted in 7 different countries, and those 7 different countries have a similar amount of outcomes. No. Not just
that is a correlation.
Yes, but I'm not saying
correlation is not causation.
No.
We don't know if it is the fact that the values that we all agree are good that do also appear in Christianity made that society good.
Am I going to be able to speak, or are you going to try to make a point?
I apologize.
I feel like you're trying to make a point more than you're trying to understand what I'm trying to say.
I apologize.
Okay. No, it's fine. It's totally fine, dude. I used to be that way too. It's fine. I get it. It's no hard feelings. It's no,
okay.
I understand it.
Now you used to be bad like me, but okay.
No, we're all flawed. All are imperfect before God. So I don't mean that in a harsh way. I'm just joking. So if I can demonstrate to you on a civilizational level, not just in terms of GDP and healthcare and things that you can correlate different things with, but if I can demonstrate to you on a civilizational level that wherever Christianity has been enacted, the civilizations tend to have similar outcomes, all else being equal, controlling for other variables. That's what they do in stats, controlling for other variables. Then I think I can demonstrate to you, at least on a civilizational level, that Christianity is a force for good. For example, let me give you, and I'll close with this, I promise. Consider old world Europe, the feudal system. There was no way for people to get out of that system. They were locked in by birth, by caste, by something that was outside of their control. But in the church, in old world Europe, the church was the only institution, as tyrannical, as centralized as it was the only institution that people in feudal Europe could actually progress up in, could actually move up in. That's why a lot of scholars actually credit the church and the principles of Christianity with the breaking down of the feudal structure and the unleashing of the new world that was America. It was
so it's still just a correlation.
No, it's not just a correlation. That's actually
no. Where's the causal factor? Where's the causal factor?
Actually, the causal factor is that in the entire society, you were bound to your social status. In the church, you were not, and by moving up, people were able to innovate and progress under that framework.
I'm not denying that. I'm asking you what the causal factor is.
The causal factor
is that you can do those things without the faith. You don't need the faith. You just need the values. That's the point.
You're trying to isolate. You're trying to isolate. No, you're trying to isolate.
Yes, you're trying to isolate the values because the faith, the idea of faith to begin with is a bad thing. Let's get rid of faith, whether it is the fact that you believe in the Bible or you believe in the fact that a man can transform into a female. All faith is bad. Let's just go with the values that work. I agree with you.
No, you're in historical context. You're ignoring me.
Okay, so let me just make sure. Let me just make sure I'm understanding your position correctly. Your position is that societies can be made better with a certain set of values.
Yes.
Where do you get the values from?
Usually, if we're talking about this, from Christianity. Like that's not I'm not denying that. Judeo-Christian values, the Enlightenment, and elsewhere. But yeah, I don't care about giving that. Yeah, it's Christian values. The values come from Christianity. That does not mean that having the faith in a God is necessary to enact those values.
Then what makes those values any better than anyone else's? Because apparently
they work. The fact that you asked me a question. You asked me a question, so I'm going to answer it. And the answer is the fact that they work. The fact that they work is why they are better. If they weren't better, then they wouldn't work better, and we wouldn't think them as better. We would think of them as worse. The fact that they work inherently makes them better, regardless of how or why you use them. They are good values, full stop. You don't need to believe anything else in order to acknowledge that the Christian values, the values, not the faith, not the dogma, not the anything else, the values are superior to anything else.
Respectfully, I disagree, and here's why. Because, okay, if we agree that these values are better, but if there's no faith that motivates me to try to make them a part of a society in which I live, then why should I even bother trying to make these values part of the general society, the civil society? No.
Person.
But again,
are you not a good person? Do you not want society to develop?
Of course I want, but
Okay,
I want to
so
do
then
that
what
on
else do you
basis.
need? If you know hey, here's the values that will make society succeed,
But
and
my
you want
Christian faith
what else do you need?
But my Christian faith causes me to believe that the enactment of these values will make my society better. In other words, the faith that I believe in the God that I worship, causes me to want to put these values into being. If there's no faith behind the values, then there's no incentive for me to make them
There's
as part of my
absolutely
society.
faith behind the values.
You could sit there and
There's
make
just
the
not a faith
argument.
in God.
You could
There's a
sit,
faith in the values.
but the values have to come from somewhere beyond.
The
just
values come
you.
from this crazy idea called Christianity. I have faith in the values, not in the truth claims of where the values came from.
Then what the hell? With all due respect, what's the point of the values? Because
to make society better.
If there's no faith,
this is like when Christians. This is when Christians are like, well, if you're an atheist, if we didn't have religion, we'd just be raping and killing everybody. Maybe you would go out and rape and killing everybody, but I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't believe in a God, and I've never had the desire to rape or kill anybody.
But my point. Go ahead.
No, please, Brian. I'm meditating right now. Please go, please.
But my point is this: you're saying the values make them good. Okay, fine. But if values are equal, which I think in one sort of a way you're sort of arguing here, then what's the point? What is the point? Yes, with all due respect, the values do come from Christianity.
But
yes,
but that's fine.
Then where do they come from?
I don't care. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter.
Where do they come from? Where do the values come from?
Fine, they come from the Bible. It's great. It's perfect. The Bible is the epitome of everything. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is irrelevant. It doesn't matter where they come from. The values are the values. They could come from the Quran. They could come from the Bible. They could come from Enlightenment people. They can come from individuals.
Well, wait a minute.
It doesn't matter. The fact is, we all agree that the values work. Why is this? Why I don't understand why you guys have this special carve out for needing to know where the values come from. You know that hold on. You know that transing a kid is bad. Why do you need to know why the idea, or where did the idea come from that you shouldn't change a kid's gender? You don't ask those questions, do you? You just accept. Well, obviously this is bad because.
But respectfully, I thought you said the truth had to be proven. I mean, you're sitting here. You're sitting here saying this.
In what context? I mean, I would like to get as close to truth as possible, but I also accept that we can't know anything 100%. So the idea of faith, as you use it, is not the same thing as I say when I use the example. I know that the vape is going to fall when I drop it. There's faith in gravity. I don't know for a fact. There could be some physical pocket of whatever, an anomaly, and it goes upward. I don't know 100% certainty, but I have a reasonable faith, not dogmatic faith, in the idea that when I let go of this, just like it did before, it's going to fall. I'm not a genius, nor do I have a crystal ball. I just understand gravity.
Okay. And not that I'm trying to be thick-headed, but you're coming to the point of
that you do. It's just just because you understand something, like that's enough. I don't need to know why. I don't need to know why Isaac Newton came up with gravity to understand how gravity works. I don't need to understand how these values came to understand that these are the values that will best serve us.
Okay. If I may. I think what we're seeing here is really a philosophical debate between two modes of moral thinking.
Okay.
Deontology and utilitarianism. Indian Jesus, you are one of the most flamboyant and promiscuous utilitarians I have seen in my life. Not insulting you, but I have read Bentham, I have read Mill, I have read all of the big wigs in utilitarianism. You make them blush. Sincerely, I have never seen a more flamboyant utilitarian. And by the way, you make the arguments good. So I'm not trying to insult you. I just have to, the nerd in me has to acknowledge that. Right. But I think the problem with your utilitarianism is the same problem with their utilitarianism. And that is that even their utilitarianism has a basis. It's based in what will maximize pleasure, what will maximize prosperity. But that presupposes that maximizing pleasure and maximizing prosperity, especially for the greatest portion of people, is inherently good. Now, here's the problem that we run into. On one layer that you're on, well, if we know it works, then it just works. Okay. If we know it works, it just works. But when I begin asking questions and I try to figure out how do I know it works, instead of just simply blindly, dogmatically, as you would say, using my dogmatic faith to know if it works, it works. How does it work? Okay, that's the second layer I go to. When I ask how it doesn't work, I have to ask, well, what does this presuppose? What comes before? What has to come before this in order for it to be in existence? A house cannot be in existence if I don't presuppose that someone created it. I have to presuppose a construction worker. Okay, then when I get to the next layer, that what that presupposes becomes even more unstable. So how do you know that pleasure is inherently a moral value? If your idea of moral value,
never said that.
no, okay,
Very
pleasure,
opposed. I am very
goodness,
opposed. No,
prosperity, whatever utilitarian. Hold on. No, let me finish. Whatever utilitarian, whatever. You let me finish.
You're not gonna, no, I'm not, because you said a thing and I said no, that's not the case, and then you continue to talk over me. So you
talked over me.
I have never said that what did you say, that anything in the idea of hedonism or pleasure or any of those things were good values. Never once did I say that. That is precisely what is the issue with the leftist ideology, that pleasure is the core. You assume that because I don't have a God, that pleasure must be the core.
No, okay, now you're straw manning me. Don't do that. That's not kind.
And why did you
no. Okay, I was being ineloquent.
When did I say the word pleasure?
Okay. No, I was being ineloquent when I said that.
No, you got to go back.
No.
The word pleasure?
Let me explain myself.
No. Okay, then explain when I said pleasure. You said that I think that pleasure is the basis. So I need you to explain. And before we continue, you need to substantiate the fact that I said that pleasure is a basis, or pleasure is
in my presupposition. I was being ineloquent, and I apologize for that. Okay, I was ineloquent. Maybe pleasure is not what I meant, but typically, and you know this as someone that studies philosophy, when you talk about utilitarianism, some kind of value add, pleasure, happiness, prosperity is at the end of every goal for utilitarianism, and you know that, and you know that I meant that. I don't know why you would. I don't know why you would. I don't
only know what you say, dude. I only know what you say.
No.
Oh, well, you're a smart guy, so you could read my mind. I can only go on the words that you say.
No, you're not being charitable.
Then I'm happy to let you reframe. But don't you knew this. I wouldn't. I'm not up here to act stupid, bro. I'm smart enough to take your arguments at face value. So if I misunderstood you, then you can then please restate.
You did misunderstand me, but. No, you misunderstood me, and instead of actually being charitable towards me, you accused me of accusing you of something I didn't accuse you of.
I'm sorry.
This is the problem.
3v1 on my own channel.
I'm not trying to fight you. I'm not trying to fight you. I'm trying to have a moment of understanding with you, but you're so hell-bent on fighting and debating and owning people that you can't see that, and that is frustrating. That is sincerely frustrating.
Objection! Dietrich has been against me the entire time. And all I said was, how do you know?
Well, but with all due respect, have you not been arguing for some form of general utilitarianism all night long? Now, I will grant you, the use of the word pleasure may not have been accurate in describing it, but the idea at the end of your argument is whatever brings about the most societal good is what we should be striving for. And in the end, that's utilitarianism.
Okay. And I don't disagree with that. But that's the important part of that is what is the basis? You're saying you must, if you don't have a God, you must need a basis. And I say, yes, I agree with you. I can give you that basis. What?
You're assuming my argument without actually letting me say that. I never told you. Have I said once in this conversation? Have I said in this conversation once that you need God to be a moral person? Have I said those words in this conversation?
You said you need a basis.
And why are you saying?
Because you said you need a basis and then continue to speak as if I didn't have a basis. So again, maybe you misspoke and you weren't eloquent as you said. And so now I'm giving you the floor to re-say what you meant, because clearly I misunderstood what you meant. So let's start over and you can say it again. So that I don't misunderstand.
The use of the word pleasure wasn't eloquent. But my original contention stands that you absolutely need a basis. And what I was trying to get to through Socratic processing, which I guess is not Why? Is because it takes a long time to talk. So I'll just say it in talking points. What I was trying to get to is that utilitarianism, like Robert Nozick described with his utility monster, eats itself alive because it presupposes things that need a basis, but its only basis is majority consent, and that basis is not strong as a foundation. That's what I was trying to say. I was trying to get there, but you kind of stopped me before I could get there. So I guess that was my point.
So to try to steelman you, are you saying that just because, like, utilitarianism in general is not
Yes.
a good? It's not good because it can what could
It's
be
crap.
utilitarian? Okay,
It is.
It's crap.
okay, fine. Does that mean then that everything that meets a utilitarian goal is inherently bad?
No, it doesn't. No. So
hold on.
the difference.
If you'll allow me. So if that is the case, then that unless you can show where my specific version of utilitarianism that I'm laying out falters, then it's not relevant, because you're saying utilitarianism equals bad, and I'm disagreeing with that. So it has to be my specific version.
I'm saying that utilitarianism equals incoherent because it presupposes things that it can't justify later on. That same thing is true in your own version of utilitarianism.
What am I presupposing?
Because earlier in the conversation before I came on, you said that that morality is a matter of majority. Is that correct? What the majority in a society thinks. Earlier before I came on, you said that morality was a matter of what the majority of people in society think. Is that correct? Before I came on.
No.
You didn't say that. You didn't say that?
No. So what we were talking about there is how morality plays out. So there's a difference between what is right and wrong and what do people think is right and wrong. Is what I was referring to. That's why I brought up slavery, because slavery very obviously is not moral, but people thought it was moral. That was the example that I used in that. So no, I was not saying that if people agree that it makes it right. I was saying that if people agree that it makes it right, it makes it a social norm that people think is right.
So I have a question.
Right.
If I may. So, and again, I just want to make sure I'm saying this correctly, that the majority should agree what is moral for the society.
Yeah.
What if I don't agree with the majority? What if a sizable minority says, no, there's nothing wrong with slavery, let's just keep on doing it? That's perfectly fine. Well, matter of fact, let's fight a civil war over it. In other words, if the majority's opinion says, okay, we have determined by majority vote, this is what the mores of our society should be. What do you do with a sizable
same thing I'm doing
minority?
Right now. Okay,
what would you do with a sizable minority that say, no, I don't agree with that?
I would do exactly what I'm doing right now. I'd come to your
Which is
face
what?
and ask you, okay, why? Why is slavery better than not slavery?
I need no reason.
That's not an
I
argument.
could say it is. Yes, it is.
It's not an argument.
With all due respect, it's no more of an argument than what you're making.
How so?
As to why slavery should not be enacted in my society. You cannot, beyond you and I, you cannot point to something higher than us as an objective standard to say
the moral landscape.
Where's that come from?
It's agreed upon by all of us.
But I don't agree to it. We
Then you're
don't
wrong.
agree on that.
So again,
hold on. You're saying I'm wrong. I'm saying no, I'm not wrong. You and I cannot agree on what the moral standard is, but yet you keep appealing to something higher than the two of us to justify the position that you have.
So unless this is something that can actually play out in such a way where we have intelligent, good faith people with integrity actually doing this, I agree that in your hypothetical that could happen, but you're not that person, and those people that exist get argued out of not existence, but out of the public space. So
but they just go get guns and they try and impose it.
Okay, my
point is this: you and again, and I say this respectfully, you can't dismiss it and say, well, okay, you're not part of the majority's opinion about what the mores of our society should be, therefore your opinion doesn't count, and we don't pay any attention to you. But that doesn't.
I accept that is definitely a problem. That in no way, and I don't want to do this as a cop out.
Okay.
I acknowledge. I want to kind of tie things up. We've been going for a while. I don't want to take up everybody's time. I will agree that in general, utilitarianism as a whatever works best, that yes, I agree with Christian that is not a good way of thinking. That doesn't mean that a particular idea can't utilize utilitarianism. That was not eloquent, but yeah, to be the way that we live. When it comes to practical reality, I reject the notion that people within and without religion can't agree on a moral landscape that is the greatest well-being for all people versus the greatest suffering for all people. I don't believe. I reject the notion that good faith people who are interested in the progress of society are not working on that spectrum. Now, we can have disagreements, and as I said at the beginning of this, there very well may be a day when I come and agree that, you know what, even though I am so amazing that I don't need a God, and I still act like a good person, turns out societally that doesn't scale up. I'm willing to go there.
Okay.
But I have to be shown that the truth that God does not exist is false first. That's why I apologize that it's kind of a cop-out that we're talking about these ideas, but at the end of the day, if God doesn't exist, then none of it matters.
Okay.
What?
If God doesn't exist, then none of it matters. If God doesn't exist, then we're all just doing what I'm already saying.
We're all just making moral guesses and doing whatever is best for the majority in society?
Yes. Most of you are using one particular book, but everybody is just doing their best guess. So
no, that's not what I'm doing.
Okay, so how do you know then that God exists? Which gets us around the whole thing.
No,
again. And I don't want to.
Yeah, you just said that if we can't prove God exists, then this conversation, and make sure I'm getting you right. This conversation about morality ultimately doesn't really, in the grand scheme of things, doesn't really matter. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. So I think you just contradicted yourself because you've been arguing this entire stream that you don't need God to be moral. Right. So if God doesn't exist, morality still does matter because you didn't need him to be moral in the first place. But now you're saying if God doesn't exist, morality doesn't matter at all. Which one is it?
No, I said if I'm saying if God doesn't exist, then your arguments on whether or not we believe in him don't matter because there's nothing to believe.
Okay. Well, okay. I thought I misheard. Oh, okay. Well, I think they still do matter because the progression of the mind is an end in and of itself. The progression of the mind is an end in and of itself.
Okay.
You think in terms of means and ends, right? Means being the way that you achieve ends, ends being the desired goal. Well, if I can demonstrate to you that me using my reason to think through complex abstractions helps me become a sharper thinker, and by consequence of becoming a sharper thinker, more keen to the truth, and by consequence of being more keen to the truth, perhaps rendering myself in a better way, being a better person, then on that basis alone, a conversation about God that is good and hearty still does matter. You have to consider the relationship between means and ends and what end you wish to achieve.
Right. But if I could create a world where we can cut out what I see as the middleman.
But you can't. You can't.
Says you.
Says you. No, says reality. No,
challenge
says reality.
Accepted.
Says reality. Says reality.
We're gonna tie it off there. Christian, thank you so much for joining. I really do appreciate it. Do you have anything, any channel, social media, anything that you
I'm not here to promote myself. People want to find me, they know where to find me. That's not where I'm here to simply.
I don't know where to find you. Where do I find you?
Damn it,
I'm not kidding. You just popped up in my stream. I'm sitting here. You popped up.
Okay. Fine.
I want to talk to you more.
You're asking me. Okay. So you can find me. You can find me on YouTube at Christian Watson Politics. You can find me on Twitter at Official C Watson. So that should be good.
There we go. So please, I'm gonna get the link to that and drop it, even though he doesn't want me to. I very much appreciate it. Thank you for coming up. You definitely challenged me. I would say harder than most people. Yeah, a lot of people enjoyed this. So
thanks.
I really hope.
No, Brian, you did a great job.
Motherfucker, chill. Did I say
You did a
anything
great
about
job.
I'm messing
You
with
see-
you, dude. I'm messing with you.
You see
I
how much I'm
do-
sweating, right? That's what happens when this happens.
I tend to have that effect on people. No, I'm just kidding. But we really do appreciate you, and I really hope to see you again. I really, really, really love these types of conversations. So
too.
thank you for being here.
No problem.
Peace
Thank you.
out. All right, M169. Didn't have too much to add, but definitely some important stuff. And always keeping me honest. Anything to add? Last words for the people.
Last words for the people. Try to keep an open mind. Never assume you are correct. Taste and see.
Beautiful.
My bad.
Thank you so much for hanging out. You have a good one. I wasn't done with you yet. If I can have 5 more minutes, I want to get.
All right, fine. We've gone this far. You may as well
Yeah.
take me for 5 more minutes.
So yeah, I do appreciate your time very
No,
very
it's been
much.
fun.
And
This has been a lot
I
of
did
fun.
not forget that you are my main guest.
Oh,
I'm
stop
very
it. Hey, in all seriousness, I was just messing with you a minute ago. I was not trying to do anything other than just with fun intention bust your chops. That's all I was trying to do, dude.
Can we got the after party, girl. We got the after party, and you are a member, so we going way past midnight, but not on here. Definitely thanks to the Front Porch Conservative. Before we let him go, I'm curious what you thought of that. What just happened?
That was fantastic.
I in terms of how people, because the whole point of this channel is having conversations, bringing people together who disagree on things, who don't see things the same way, and everybody getting a little bit further in understanding the other people.
Sure.
I would love your unfettered criticism or love, either way. What did you think? Putting you on the spot.
Okay.
What could I do better? And what did you think of the conversation in general?
Oh, you're drinking something. I should have just said something so outrageous to make you spit it out, but I'm not going to do that to you. No, from my perspective, this is something that in general society needs more of. Everybody got passionate. Everybody got heated in one form or another. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. In the end, whatever passions and heat were brought, people were able to pull it back from the edge and say, okay, I'm going to take a breath. You start talking. I have not a problem with what was done tonight. I thought it's probably one of the healthiest debates I've seen done in a long time in this format anywhere among all parties. I thought you and Christian were a couple of superb fencers. If we're going by win by 2, I'm not sure. Well, I think I've got my bias on who I think won, but that's okay.
I would think so. I would think so.
But no, seriously, I used to, before, when I was skinny and actually didn't have arthritis, I could actually fence, and I did. And the rule was you had to win by 2. Well, usually the game was you go to whoever 5 is what you need, must win by 2. You two were parrying, thrusting, backing off. This was just a joy to watch. And I don't know if Christian had any intention of walking into this thing, but let me tell you something. And I say this respectfully to both of you. You two have got a couple of really good minds. You may not agree with each other on everything, but I thought this was fantastic. And for the fact that, old rusty britches over here managed to throw in a few good, lines every now and then didn't hurt my feelings any. Made me think, yeah, okay, that noggin you've got up there still working after all these years. So
no, I mean, you were absolutely integral. You were absolutely
great.
integral to this, and
Yeah.
I really appreciate you. You coming on. We obviously we took a left turn with the religion stuff, but
Sure.
all of what we were talking about is definitely important. And I don't often, because of the style of the show that I usually do, where
Sure.
I'm reacting to a conversation. I do my best to try to bring these things out. But
Sure.
it's harder because it's not me talking, and so when you guys challenge me, it allows me to address these things, and play them out and humble myself and be like, okay, maybe I don't got it as well as I thought I did, There's a lot of stuff that that you that M169 and Quamtech and Christian gave me that I got to think about. And I haven't changed my mind right now, but I'm still here, and I'm happy to go to bed and sleep on and all that good stuff. So yeah, no fence sitter. Everybody's right. There we go. But yeah, I really do appreciate you coming on. So Mitso Mark is asking, where can I find the Front Porch Conservative? So tell them, if they're not sure, who are you? Where can they find you? What do you do? And I already said, where can they find you?
My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Rumble. Please subscribe to both of my channels. As I jokingly tell people all the time, I'm a going little concern. Someday I'd like to be a going big concern, but I can do that better if you're subscribing. You can also find me on Twitter at the Front Porch C1. As far as what I do, I put out videos and live streams. Most of what I do revolves around questions of politics, but I also get into questions of culture. And on occasion, when a certain Indian Jesus invites me on his channel, well, we get into some deep philosophicals. So that's always fun. So no, this has been an absolute joy tonight. And I love doing it. And, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Lutch, anytime you want to come back on my channel, brother, you are welcome. Like I say, we may not agree on everything, but we'll agree to disagree. And even though we'll fight like cats and dogs, I call you brother. And, if you were in my house, we would drink wine until the rising of the sun, as they do in certain Middle Eastern cultures. So,
Really?
But at sunrise, the battle is on.
There we go. All right, dilly to that. I like that.
Dilly.
We got some new subs for you. There we go. Thank you so much for hanging out, brother. I would love to do this again. We will definitely make that happen. And guys, if you have not, the link to his channel, all his socials, all that stuff is in the description. Go follow him. Go subscribe. Do all the stuff. And say thank you once again to the Front Porch Conservative. Thank you, sir. Have a good one. All righty. God damn. I did not know that we were going to go down like that. But I need that. Like, big shout out to everybody who was on the panel. I need that. I spend way too much time. There you go. Shout out to the Front Porch Conservative one more time. Thank you so much for being here. I think it's important that we talk to people who disagree with us, and we have to be able to endure that. It's hard. It's not easy when and you guys see me. You guys see me getting frustrated and animated and all that stuff. It's not easy. But as long as you're willing to be called out, when Christian's like, "Hey, you're not listening to me. I'm trying to make a point," you're like, fuck, I'm being a dick. Let me shut the fuck up. But also standing up for yourself. That hey, you're putting words in my mouth. To be able to have that balance is the whole fucking point. It's the whole point. And I don't know. I don't know if I have all the answers. I really think I do. I think I have all the answers. But maybe I don't. Either way, that's okay. Civil discourse indeed. Either way, I'm on this journey, and wherever I end up, whether it's being a secular Christian or it's creating a world where we no longer need religion, we gonna do that. We're gonna do the damn thing. So big shout out, big shout out to John, the sponsor of the stream, $19.99. Thank you so much. We also had Enzo Mark signing up as a member, and our boy Guam Tech with a $5 super chat. Thank you so very much, guys. I'm always around, baby. Yeah, so I am going to subscribe to Christian right now, and hopefully I can have him on for, like a full thing. I think it was very interesting. Maybe we'll bring back Front Porch Conservative, bring back some other people, and all that stuff. That I can't promise. I got some work to do. Saturday's my only weekday to do it, and we're gonna do a long members thing on Sunday. I had planned to do a 2-parter. It's a JVP conversation. It's Jordan Peterson with other people. And I planned to do a 2-parter, members only, but it's long. But the thing is, it's one story and it needs to be told as one story. So it's going to be more of a watch along than it is like me breaking things down and everything like that. But yeah, Sunday, we're going to sit down and maybe it's gonna take a while, but we're gonna do the damn thing. And if you don't have to stay there live, if you're not a member, that's the only time you can see it. So definitely, if you're not a member, you're gonna want to catch it live. But you guys know, members, you get it, the replay, all that good stuff. So thank you so very much. I really, really do appreciate you. Big shout out to the Front Porch Conservative, guys. If you've not subscribed to the Front Porch Conservative, fuck you. Until next time, guys. I have been your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, I am out of here. Peace.